Hi, welcome to I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes. Today, our guest is Stan Zimmerman. Stan Zimmerman is a sitcom writer. He wrote a book, and he also is an author, and he also wrote the shows The Golden Girls, and he wrote Gilmore Girls, and he wrote on Roseanne, and he wrote a bunch of pilots as well, and A Very Brady Movie. I'm talking really fast right now because, as you know, on Gilmore Girls, a big part of Gilmore Girls is that they talk super fast. So, I'm trying to get it really, really quick. Sorry if you're on a speed that's higher than 1, but... I don't know how they did it on Gilmore Girls. I was trying to speak as fast as I can there. Sorry about that, but I figured that the episode is long enough. The episode is 2 hours, over 2 hours. So I figured that you want to hear the least amount of me. Silly thought. Let's go on about our intro. Today we have Stan Zimmerman on. Stan Zimmerman is a sitcom writer. And he just wrote a new book. That's what I was saying earlier, my super fast speed. Stan Zimmerman just recently wrote a book called The Girls, From Golden to Gilmore. Because Stan Zimmerman wrote on Gilmore Girls and The Golden Girls, which I think is a really nice bookend tie-in, which we talk about. And we were really excited to have him on to talk about all this, and he gets to tell in a lot of behind-the-scenes Rue McClanahan, Betty White, B. Arthur stories, Estelle Harris stories, because The Golden Girls is a show that's like broken time. It's like everyone has watched an episode or seen a clip from The Golden Girls. There are moments in The Golden Girls that are iconic, and when I say broken time, there's so many bits in there that feel timeless, and so many storylines in there that feel timeless. And Stan wrote on the first season of Golden Girls and was nominated for a WGA award. For those of you who don't know, WGA award is a Writers Guild award, and he was nominated for the Rose's Mother episode, which was in season 1. And he also wrote on Roseanne, so we get to talking about all of his Roseanne stories, the original Roseanne, not the reboot Roseanne. We get to talking about all those Roseanne stories, some of which are a little crazy. And then Gilmore Girls. He wrote on season 5 of Gilmore Girls. And if you're Team Dean or Team Logan, you can turn this podcast off now. No, just kidding. I am Team Jess through and through. Stan is not, much to my dismay. He also was supposed to be a writer on Boy Meets World, but he decided to turn it down for reasons I don't understand. I mean, he has a very strong opinion on himself. But no, he got to be good friends with Amy Sherman-Palladino. I don't want to, maybe I shouldn't talk too much about what happens and get right to the episode, but regardless, Stan was such a blast to have on. You definitely should check out his book because his book is fascinating and filled with even more stories than we get to telling from the podcast, and we get to tell in a lot of stories. And now he's working in the theater, and he's directing and writing for the theater, and writing plays and musicals alike. So this is really exciting to get to someone who's been very successful in the film and television field, from, similar to like Robert Horn when we chatted with him about his time writing for sitcoms, or Douglas Lyons writing for Fraggle Rock and whatnot. It's like, this is a very interesting side of the business that I think a lot of our base, who are primarily theater people but are interested in that, don't know as much about. So we get to talking about what a spec script is, and I think most people know what pilots are, but we get to talking about pilots and how when pilots were more of a common thing, how they were built upon. So there's a lot of interesting tidbits in there that we don't usually get to talk about, that I was really excited to like spew my knowledge about and like ask him questions about the TV world in a different way. And he wrote on three of like the greatest shows of all time, right? Like, and then are most iconic and people just adore. So Golden Girls fans, Gilmore Girls fans, Roseanne fans, unite! This is an episode for you. Today, I want to be like Stan Zimmerman. I want to be like you. 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 Welcome to another episode of I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes. Today, I want to be like Stan Zimmerman.
Are you sure about that?
I am.
Okay.
Especially after all the research I've done.
We'll see at the end of this whole segment if you really want that.
Right.
Yeah.
I almost don't know where to begin because there's Stan's book that we're talking about, The Girls, From Golden to Gilmore.
Now read the subtitle.
Stories about all the wonderful women I've worked with.
Now turn it over.
And Roseanne. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, there was a little fight with my publishers about where the and Roseanne part should come.
Right.
I wanted it on the cover, and they're like,
Right.
"Oh my God, she'll like lawsuits and start
she'll
fighting
freak
me." And
out,
I was
yeah.
like, "Bring it on."
Yeah.
I'm ready to take on Roseanne.
Take on
There's
Roseanne.
A cage fight you
After
want
all
to see.
these years, you're finally
I
ready.
think I would get it out of my system finally.
right.
Yes.
It's funny. Like I didn't know where to begin after having read the book because there's like so much that I want to ask you about. But we start with the same question every time, and it was, who was your I want to be like you when you were a kid?
Lily Tomlin.
Lily Tomlin.
Yes.
Wow, why Lily?
A fellow Detroiter. So I connected as a child, and then I remember watching Laugh-In, and I had never seen a stand-up comic, which is what she was, like that. It wasn't just standing up and doing rat-a-tat jokes like a Don Rickles. It was character-based.
Right,
and I think that was the first time I thought, oh, you could be funny, have characters, and not have to be funny all the time.
Right.
I think that's kind of gone with me my whole career, and then to actually meet her.
When did you meet her?
Well, first of all, she was there's a thing called records. You're probably too young to know, but there's records that you put on, and I made my parents buy me her first album that came out, and then she had a signing. So of course I made my mother drive us down to the department store so she could sign it for me.
Wow.
And then I invited her back to my house for lunch, which you do as a kid, right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how old were you?
Probably 7 or 8. Yeah. And then we didn't have phone machines, so I'm like yelling at my mother, drive faster, she's going to call. We got to get home to pick up the phone. She never called, but now the newspapers spin years later, I did get to take her to dinner and lunches, and we become friends.
No way.
But it happened through a film project.
That's
that
funny.
We wrote, I think the second movie, we wrote a script on Spec.
Wow.
And we slipped it to her backstage door when she was doing one of her first, appearing nightly, one of her one-woman shows.
Okay, gotcha.
And then our agents called and said, why is Lily Tomlin calling us? And we're like, oops. Sometimes you just have to take matters into your own hands. You know?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That's
great.
One of the many times we did that, yeah.
Wow, Lily Tomlin,
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
So were you visiting New York often at all? Like, were you into theater when you were younger? I guess, what made you get bit by the bug?
The bug, I think I came out of the womb wanting to do theater. And I was very creative, and I would be directing plays in my basement. Like, I probably did an illegal production of Fiddler on the Roof with my neighbors. And so don't tell Concord or whoever owns it now. Remember Tams Whitmark? Do you remember that? Used to be the company that owned all those big ones.
But now they've all transferred to like Concord, MTI.
But I remember getting the catalogs and just looking at the pictures and being like, how do I get into that world? Like, go into those catalogs. And then I just started making my own plays. And then I asked I think my second grade teacher if we could put on the plays for the rest of the class. I don't know where I got the nerve.
Wow.
And I don't know where she thought, without seeing the plays, she said yes.
Wow.
And so we did them, and then she called my mother and suggested that I go to a summer theater program. And I was really nervous because if you had a teacher call your home, that was not a good thing, right? Yeah. You were in deep. Can we swear on this?
Yeah, of course,
Okay. Deep shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
That never happened to me. I don't know what that's like.
Yeah.
So
what's the swearing or the
the calling? The
really?
teacher called. Of course, no. Okay. I think my teachers called my home too many times.
Really?
As a kid, yeah, all the time.
What were you doing that was so bad?
I don't know. It was like plenty. There was plenty of things where it was like little. I was a class clown, so I was like it was always like the jokes. And I remember my teacher calling my mom and being like, he really gets the attention of everyone in the class, and then it pulls away from like what we're learning because he's cracking jokes. That was always like
you're
a thing.
Still doing it.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
I'm just doing it now on a podcast.
Okay. Which is even better now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I should invite her on.
You should.
Strangely enough, I thought I saw her this weekend. Like, it's actually really strange. I thought I saw my homeroom teacher from kindergarten this weekend, and I was like, is that her? Is that? And I was gonna approach her just to see, and then I was like, no. And I didn't do it. I don't think it was her.
Interestingly, I put this teacher's name, Mrs. Golden.
Miss Golden, yeah.
In the book.
Right.
And then somebody contacted her. I was doing an interview for the Detroit News, because that's where I'm from.
Right.
And they contacted her, and she was still alive. She's this itty bitty little thing, and I got to see her after all these years. Your second grade teacher.
Gosh.
It was incredible, and she looked exactly the same.
Wow.
So that was
That's really nice.
one of the fun full circle moments, and
Yeah.
I've had so many with this book.
Yeah.
So I went to this summer theater camp called Cranbrook Theater School, and they would do these awful plays, like, you know, very Princes and the Peas and things like that. And I was having none of it. So you can imagine, like, this little kid just had ideas.
Right.
And so I just started improvising, and I would get laughs.
Yeah.
And then the head of the camp would reprimand me after, but then I'd be mobbed with all the kids and parents saying that was so funny. And then they finally said, just do whatever you want to do.
Right.
And
right.
that's made me think, this comedy thing. And you know, you get that first laugh, and it really does send a jolt up your spine.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew I had to be in this business somehow. I also wasn't very popular at that point, and so I would be in my bedroom where I created my own TV network.
Oh.
Which I'm sure every kid does, yeah.
Actually, it's funny. We did do that too. What was the name of your network?
It was called the Hughes Television Network. So I had heard about Howard Hughes.
Okay.
And he was like this billionaire.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, he'll have the money to start.
To fund the network.
I'm thinking ahead here. I think of every single thing.
Yeah.
I would draw up ads. I had one of those boards where I literally scheduled 7 days a week opposite the networks.
Wow.
I was really thinking this. And I would have press conferences in my bedroom about all the shows. And of course, I gave Lily Tomlin her own variety show because
of course
she had to have one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I got to tell her that. It was Friday nights at 10 o'clock. Because she would do specials every couple of years. And I was like, no, you need to do it every single week.
Yeah. Right.
And so that was part of my crazy mind that went to while I was playing in my bedroom. But also, I was dancing to West Side Story.
Of course.
So I'm sure you must have done that.
Weren't we all dancing to West Side Story?
Cool. I loved Cool. So they kept saying, like, what is he doing upstairs? Because, you know, you have to slide in that song.
Yeah.
And I had shag carpet, and my mother would come up and go, why is the middle of the carpet just flat? Because I'm cool. You just had to slide.
Right, you had to slide.
Song. Yeah.
You had to be suave.
So I created my network, and that's where my imagination just kind of went wild. So I always knew I wanted to be involved in television. I was kind of obsessed with television.
Were you?
I just memorized everything that was on, and I would kind of be, you remember the TiVo machines?
Yeah.
So I was like a human TiVo. So I would tell each family member which show they needed to watch. Like my brother was kind of one of the first Trekkies, so I would tell him when it was on, you got to come sit down, or my sister would watch cartoons, and so I kind of programmed it for everybody.
It's fun. It's like funny because you're like saying all these things, and I'm like, me too.
You did that.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah. Well, like our network was called. We weren't. You
thinking, started a network.
We had a network. We had a network, and for however how many years, the first 3 years, it was called Elbistian, and that was just Elbi and Christian, right? We just moved that, and then when she was born,
why does he get first?
Always first Billy.
Okay.
And don't question it. Don't. There's a reason the show is called I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes.
Yes, okay. Suddenly the show's over. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Elbistian, and then when she was born, we expanded to Elbistian Jelena. Oh. So that was our network.
Her name is Jen.
Yeah.
And what did you have on your network?
We had, what were some of the shows? We had some originals, right? One was called Me and My Brothers. That was like an original show that we had on. And then,
what was that?
Yeah.
Was that a half-hour comedy?
It was a half-hour comedy. Multicam, of course, yeah. I had one drama that was like an hour long, and it was like soapy, and it was based on the Hunger Games, and it was called Capture the War. That was like, Capture the War was classic. And then we would have spins on shows that already existed. Like, there was a show on Disney XD that was called Zeke and Luther. Okay. We had a show, we liked the character, there was a character named Kojo who was in Zeke and Luther. So our show was Zeke and Kojo. And we changed, it was a spin on it.
You took some of the characters.
Exactly.
I'm calling Disney right now.
Yeah, right.
Reporting all of you.
And we, unlike them, they went like 2 or 3 seasons. We went 8. So
they had nothing.
And we were pumping out episodes a day.
I've never heard anybody else have that crazy story like
that.
Yeah. Maybe we're the only people in the world.
Maybe. I was just obsessed with TV, and I still am like obsessed with TV. I still love TV. What were you watching at the time? Like, what were the shows that you? Because it's funny, you mentioned in the book like the show that you had, the jukebox musical. It's on.
Yeah.
And you said
we're gonna do that. So it's a book musical using over 40 theme songs from I Love Lucy to Friends and Cheers and Golden
Right.
Girls and Wonder Woman.
Which is it's so clever. So
And we did it at, remember Nymph? You're probably too young. It was the New York Musical Theater Festival.
Oh,
and I
sure.
think we were the first or second show at the Signature Theater. This was a few years ago. In my cast, I had Emmy winner Sheryl Lee Ralph.
yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
How crazy is that?
From Abbott Elementary.
And she sang Wonder Woman.
Wow.
And she was with the project for a long time. We did the first, 20-hour workshop. Obviously, you know what those are. We did that with someone named Megan Hilty. And, I accosted her in a parking lot. And she didn't know me. I just, I think I saw her in 9 to 5.
Okay.
And I just made a beeline for her. And, I'm sure I played the Golden Girls card.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing this TV musical, blah, 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 blah. And she just said, okay. And next minute I knew she was in my living room for the first table read.
Incredible.
And then we did it at the Gary Marshall Theater, and then we brought it to New York.
How cool.
And Whoopi Goldberg came. It was all very exciting because Whoopi and Cheryl have to know each other.
From Sister
and
Act, yeah.
so that was really, really cool. So we're actually world premiering that show. Funny you should bring it up. In Virginia this summer.
No
so after
way.
all these years.
Where?
This small theater called the North Street Playhouse.
Very cool.
And last summer I got to world premiere a new musical that I wrote called Long Beach Blanket Bingo.
There.
Wow. 28 people on stage. I never directed a musical, so that was a lot.
Gosh.
From a 4-year-old little black girl to a 70-year-old white guy. Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy. But that came about. My writing partner, Jim Berg, and I were watching all those old beach party movies. You probably don't remember them with Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon. There were these corny 60s beach movies where they'd be surfing and the background would be the fake.
Sure.
It was so fake. And so we're looking at all the movies and we're thinking, there's no black people in this. Like, in the 60s, how could you not have any? And so we started doing research and found out there were segregated beaches back in the 60s, where they literally had signs saying whites only, blacks only.
Right. I guess it makes sense. I never thought about that.
So actually, at the time we were rehearsing for It's On here at Nymph, Whoopi Goldberg had gotten involved, and we were pitching that as a TV series.
Oh.
This is pre-Glee.
Okay.
Nobody wanted to do a musical TV show. Nobody wanted to do an interracial love story. Nobody wanted to do a period piece. So then we turned it into a stage play, and then we tried to find writers to write music for it.
Yeah.
And then the unfortunate part, but the fortunate part, is my very, very close friend, Allie Willis, and if you know who she is, she wrote a few songs you might have heard of called September by Earth, Wind & Fire.
Yes, of course.
Boogie Wonderland, the Friends theme song.
Of course.
The Color Purple musical. Just a few.
Just a few.
Just a few. So she passed, I think about 6 years ago, and her girlfriend during COVID gave me all of her demos on a hard drive. She recorded with Jimmy Cliff and James Brown and George Benson and Jeffrey Osborne and Cyndi Lauper and David Foster. And I'm listening to all these songs. They would come to her house and she would record the demo. So it was like reading her diaries. I would hear her voice as they're coming up with all these songs. And I felt like maybe I was intruding. And then a few years later, I found out she wanted everybody to pick apart. Her father was a junkyard salesman, so she loved collecting things. And then now she wanted everyone to take it and make art with it. So we took 23 of those songs. Only 2 had been recorded before. The others were just demos. So we had to get, orchestrations made.
Right.
And we put them in this new musical, and we world premiered it this past summer.
Wow,
and
how cool.
It's such a beautiful story. I was a little nervous going down to this town because there were segregated beaches not far from where the theater was.
Right.
But the community just embraced this story.
Wow.
And I feel like in these fractured times, it was a way for the whole community to come together and see everybody represented on that stage. And so people just came out laughing, singing the songs. So she writes really great hooky songs.
Yeah, of course.
So we're hoping.
So you were writing an original story to accompany her music?
We wrote the original story, and then we added her songs to it.
Gotcha.
So that was really, really cool.
That is really cool.
There's already another theater that wants to do it in spring of 27, but we're hoping to do something in 26 with it.
Wow, how cool. That's awesome.
So that's been kind of a new thing.
And similar with It's On, right? It's an original story accompanying these theme
book,
songs.
yes.
Yeah.
And we kind of got into musicals. It's all in the book, I'm sure.
You've
heard all
but
these
it's,
stories,
but it's worth
news
telling.
to
Yeah.
them, yes. We'd obviously done years of sitcoms.
Yes.
And then Craig Zane and Neil Marin, who were doing, turning Broadway musicals into movies, TV movies, like they did Gypsy with Bette Midler.
Yes.
And they did Cinderella with Whitney
You
Houston
guys did
and
Annie.
Brandy. Yes, so they got the rights to Annie, and they chased us down to the parking lot. Please, we just signed Kathy Bates. Will you help us rewrite it? And Rob Marshall, this was his first directing gig. He was only a choreographer.
Oh, funny.
Yeah,
Wow.
crazy.
And this Annie cast was crazy for this TV movie. Like Kathy,
Alan Cumming, Kristen Chenoweth, Audra McDonald,
Right, yes.
Victor Garber.
Crazy. And then also, there was supposed to be a Wizard of Oz one.
Yes.
Which was a crazy
then
cast of
from
John Leguizamo.
there, they brought us on to do another musical, and they said, we're not happy with the book of the musical. The music is really great, but they wanted a new book, and they wanted a diverse cast. So it was like Alan Cumming as the Scarecrow.
John Leguizamo was the Tin Man, I think, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and David Alan Greer.
Yes.
The Lion.
Which he wound up doing in The Wiz live. And then there was somebody big, there was Dorothy that I'm blanking on right
Introducing Anika Nani Rose.
Yes. Yeah,
she had
right.
never done anything, and they found her. And
Crazy.
Paul Abdul was choreographing it, and they were going to film it in Prague, of all places, and build
Crazy.
it like, the real world with
Yeah.
practical sets. And then the people that own the rights to the Broadway revival pulled the rights because they had a clause that I guess nobody at ABC read.
Wow.
That if they didn't want a TV movie made of it before revival, they could pull that. Which today people know that helps your sales on Broadway.
Right.
But before Chicago, people didn't know that. They thought,
Right.
why would people want to go see a Broadway show if you could see a movie of it? But it actually all feeds into one another
Right.
now.
And it still feels like something that people are hesitant about. Like, it feels like you get like Hamilton and they're like, whoa. And then Hamilton was like another resurgence of that. And it came out during the pandemic. And like, it was a resurgence of like how that boosted. And God only knows Wicked right now, which is the highest grossing, which
Yes,
produced
you saw
the
the Broadway revenues went up after the movie came out.
significantly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it at this point now, after that first movie came out, it became the highest grossing week in Broadway history. That $5 million in a week, it was
So
the
they
holidays,
lost
too.
out.
Yeah, right, for sure.
But it was really cool working on it. And then they had us write a Grease reunion movie, which never happened.
Right.
So it kind of got us
Crazy.
into writing musicals.
Right.
We wrote the Priscilla Presley story into a musical. And so that was interesting to spend time with Priscilla, go to Graceland with Priscilla.
Wow.
And she didn't know anything about Broadway, so we did a whole New York trip. I went to see Wicked the night before it opened with Priscilla Presley.
No way.
That was great, yes, because we were talking with John Mineo to possibly direct it.
Wow.
So I've had some
Whatever
crazy
happened to that?
stories. Then she gave the rights to all of the Elvis songs to All Shook Up.
Oh.
It's still sitting there. I think she has such an interesting story.
Yeah.
We kind of likened it to kind of like My Fair Lady. She was this young girl, and suddenly she had to learn how to be a woman, and then she ended up, even though being divorced from Elvis, helping Graceland become what it is today. So it was kind of
Right.
falling in disrepair.
Right.
And she turned it into this big
Well, I think
attraction.
especially with the new Priscilla movie, like that, I feel like it would be even more desired, right? I mean, like,
We think so.
Yeah.
And we had this funny stunt casting that kind of bookended the show of one of the tour guides there. And we thought you could put in like Rosie O'Donnell or Howard
Sure.
Firestein come in
Sure.
and play the
oh wow,
just some of our crazy
yeah,
ideas.
hey, that's awesome.
But I want to be on Broadway, so
Yes.
we're just going to put it out there.
So it's just coming, yeah, it's
Somebody
perfect.
said like they felt they just told me this, that they felt like I had a magnet quality. So I'm just going to put out the magnet.
Put it out and then see what it
yes.
attracts. Yeah, for sure. I love that. What was the first Broadway show you ever saw?
Well, I saw plays at the Fisher Theater in
Okay.
Detroit, so my parents took me to that. So
Yeah.
that was, theater that came to
Come on
town.
tour, yeah.
But I remember it was Grease. And I was in the audience, and when the overture starts playing, I got butterflies in my stomach because I was nervous for the actors backstage. So that was like, I knew I had to be an actor because
Yeah.
I was in their shoes thinking, they're back there going, oh my God, the curtain's going to open.
Right,
We gotta start the
right.
show. But I saw Scapino at Circle in the Square. That was the first play, and I ended up going to Circle in the Square in NYU.
Oh.
And then the very second show I saw was a musical by the Sherman Brothers.
Oh.
Who wrote
of course, Mary Poppins. Yeah. It's a Small World.
So they wrote this really cool 40s jitterbug musical called Over Here.
Oh,
with a few people like John Travolta, Anne Reinking, Mary Lou Henner. I mean, it was this crazy
on Broadway.
On Broadway, yeah, at the Schubert Theater.
Wow!
And I just love that whole '40s dancing. They're throwing Anne Reinking up in the air, and spinning her, and
oh my goodness!
It was. I just could not believe it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I thought someone. Now I'm just going to give this idea away that they should do. What is your first Broadway show? Book. Like interview famous people and hear what inspired them, and maybe do pictures.
Right.
Or,
I
still have every single playbill.
Oh, do you?
With the ticket
wow.
taped into the front of it.
I probably have most at this rate. I probably
got rid of some.
When I was a kid, like the first Broadway show we saw was Spider-Man: Turn Off the Dark, and I was like 10 years old, so I don't have that anymore. But I went back and got like a Spider-Man playbill that I have somewhere at like the Broadway flea market, and then
Patrick Page was in that.
Yes, Patrick Page and Reeve Carney, and also Katrina Lenk too. Tony winner now. Katrina Lenk was in that too.
That. Wow,
okay. And I remember her in that show too, as she opened the show. But and then that was probably and then Aladdin, the original Aladdin, which I don't think I have anymore. We saw that when I was like 12 or something like that. Everything after that, I have.
Okay.
Everything after that I have, which is a lot of shows now. I have a big box that is like...
Mine are like in a row.
Yeah.
In a big closet.
And some of them I hang on the wall, kind of like this, on my wall. Like the most recent ones are some of my like most, top must-see.
Do you frame them? What do you do?
I put them in like a little sheet protector, and then I put like push pins on them, and then like...
Are you worried about him at all? Yes.
You go see, like, if you see my room in my house, it's like I have a Broadway wall, and then I have an off-Broadway wall. And then I have a, And
then an off-Broadway wall?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Regional theater wall.
And then a high school production. That's like somewhere in the basement.
Yeah, right. Okay. But it's cool sometimes when you see, like, I have like Dead Outlaw or like Kimberly Akimbo on my off-Broadway wall, and then I also have the Broadway productions on my Broadway wall,
Dead Outlaw is the only show where I bought a ticket and then it closed before I got here. Like, in all the years, I've never had that happen. Where I was all excited to go see it, and it closed like a week before.
Prematurely, Jeb Brown, who's in Bo that you're going to see tonight, he was Tony nominee for Dead Outlaw. Okay, let's talk about NYU. You auditioned. You were going up for two schools, UMich and NYU.
University of Michigan.
Right.
You call it UMich?
UMich, yeah.
U of M. Wolverines. Go Blue.
Oh wow, U of M.
I've never heard UMich.
Yeah, UMich. Okay. Yeah.
That's what you're saying now?
Yeah, I guess it was just like it's a big theater school now.
Yeah.
So it's like big. So that I always refer to it as UMich. Yeah.
It was not as big a theater school when I went.
Right.
My father really wanted me to go there because it's state school and it's cheaper, and all my family, everybody went.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to get out of Michigan, and I just had my sights set on New York, but I had to come to New York and audition for NYU.
Right.
And that was petrifying. I was only 17 years old.
What did the audition entail?
They said just have a contemporary monologue. So I didn't know what that meant. I mean, I knew what contemporary meant, obviously. So I picked a monologue from Dark at the Top of the Stairs. And I got there and I thought we'd do it like in a little room. No, it was everybody sitting on the floor, watching each other and doing it for one person in a chair. And so I got to see everybody do it. Luckily. And they were mostly older students, so like transfer students. And everybody just seemed to go into the chair and just talk to the professor, whoever that was. And I had the blocking and the hand movements, and I'm going to stand and do this.
Right.
Just totally fake. And something inside my head just say, cut all that shit out. Just sit there and talk to the person. And luckily, my very first lines were, like, do you ever get a sick feeling in the pit of your stomach? Which I had growing at the time. So I was almost walking right into, like, Strasberg acting. And I didn't even know I was doing. I felt what I was saying. And I guess it was very real. Yeah. And I probably heard my stomach churning. It was so loud. And I went back to Michigan. And then back then, it wasn't like on computers where they said you were accepted. Right. So you would get something in the mail. And everybody said, if you get the packet, which is a big packet, you're in. And if you get like a rejection note, it's... So I came home one day, and it was like rice paper, the note from NYU. So before I opened it, of course, I was like, that's it. And how do I go back to school the next day? And it was, maybe I could like transfer somewhere and finish up the rest of my senior year. And I opened it and it said at the very top, you've been accepted. And I just went, wow, I went crazy.
Oh, that's awesome.
But it was scary coming to New York at such a young age. And
right.
Not knowing a soul. And I'd been here, visiting with family. And
sporadically,
but never like, here's the subway, here's the city, go.
Yeah. Here it is.
Yeah, it can be very intimidating.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And, my mother's leaving. I'm like, no, don't leave me in the city. What do I do? And how do I didn't even how do you even take a subway? I mean, because in Detroit, we just use cars.
It's very specific, yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a minute to learn, even though I'm from here.
When did you first time you got to go in by yourself?
16. I was 16 when I went by myself for the first time, and I was so confused. Like, I would know the one line, and if I could just follow the one line or any sign that had to the one line, I could figure it out. Yeah, okay. But if not, and I'll tell you what was also
you just
helpful.
Took the one line, that's it.
That's it.
Even if
that's
it was
if it was out, I'd be like, oh gosh. Or my dad was like, you could just go on the express, go on the 2 or the 3. And
what?
I'd rather not. I'd rather just stay on my one train. Now I can pretty much get around. Yeah. But you know what I will say? I think to the MTA's credit, I can't give them credit for much, but I can give them credit for this. And I think that now they've made it very accessible in the sense that like when you're on the train, they have lights blinking like you're at the stop and the light blinks so that you've arrived there. Then the next stop, the light blinks. So like things like that would help.
They tell you.
Yeah.
I just came back from London. And the tube is very old-fashioned. They have cloth on their seats.
Oh.
And I told my friends, that seems very unsanitary.
Yeah,
I don't know.
sure.
The things I've seen in New York, I don't want to...
Yeah, right.
I'm not sitting down anywhere on those.
Right.
But the tube is just like, there's thousands of lines that felt
really?
like. Here, I don't know. I that's why I love being back here, and I now have a little apartment here that I have.
Nice.
So I can just walk and go. I just know it. It just feels...
Right.
The minute I land here from LA, I just feel like it's home to me.
Oh, that's nice. So do you have a place in LA that you have as well?
It's my home.
Oh, okay. That's your home.
That's my home.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm in Hollywood Bowl. Do you know LA at all?
I've never been.
What?
I shouldn't say. I just have been for a layover.
Oh, okay. Now you gotta get
I've never
out.
actually been. I would love to go. I would love to go.
Do that.
Yeah.
You need to do this version. Interview some people out there.
I know. I would love to do that. We both would love to do that. It's funny enough. We had this. Our first episode was with Michelle Palk, who's like my theater godmother, and we manifest the dream guest in every episode, and she manifested Carol Burnett. So we messaged Carol Burnett's publicist, and we're like, hey, whatever. And they answered me.
You should be filming this.
I could.
Yeah. You are.
And they answered in like 45 minutes, and they said no because she was busy at the time. She was doing press for the new season of Palm Royale that's coming out. But I couldn't believe they answered within like an hour. Yeah, there are people who I'm like, that haven't gone back to me at all, and like Carol Burnett answered me in like an hour.
Okay, now I'm mad at you.
Yeah.
Because I wrote to Carol Burnett as a kid in my bedroom. We have the same story, basically.
Right.
I had created the Junior Emmy Awards that kids voted on their favorite TV shows.
Oh,
this was
before the Kids' Choice Awards. Yeah.
So they stole that from me.
Right.
And I was going to give a Lifetime Achievement Award to Carol Burnett. So here's this 14-year-old kid writing to Carol Burnett's agent or whatever.
Right.
She never answered me.
Oh, boy. She's probably got a new one now because the first one didn't answer.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. So that should ask them. So.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, Carol, you're still welcome anytime.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about...
Your handwriting. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about my handwriting.
That.
Can you? I've gotten.
That's the writing of a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Like something.
So it's funny. I've actually gotten messages from someone who like caught like the clipboard this way and was trying to deduce what I had said, but
nobody
good
can
luck.
read it. Yeah.
No, nobody can read it. Nobody
Is
can
it
read
just that one page? Let me see the next.
No,
page.
These other pages are like there's surprises coming.
Buy milk.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're like errands. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I want to talk to you about coming to LA and what inspired you to come to LA to after college to I shouldn't say pivot, but move toward writing.
I always thought I would go to California first, and then I went to a summer theater camp in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
You know those you've seen those theater camp movies.
Of course, yeah.
And normally they would do 20 plays in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I found one that only did 8, so I thought that was manageable.
Yeah, right.
And after going there, everybody said if you want to be a serious actor, you have to come to New York. And then that's when I first pivoted, and that was when I set my sights on NYU.
Right.
And then after NYU, I met my writing partner in the dorm with friends, and we started writing sitcom pilots.
Wow. So I didn't realize that you met Jim in college.
Yeah, he was in the Gallatin division, and he was studying journalism, and I was studying acting. So we kind of brought both those things together. And I don't know why we started writing pilots. And I was running the box office at CSC Repertory, which has now become this super cool thing. The original company only did classic. That's why it's called Classic Stage Company.
Yeah.
So they would do Shakespeare and
wow.
Oedipus and things like that.
Right.
And I was the big box office person. It started as work-study program through NYU to pay for NYU.
Yeah.
But of course, I just took it over, and that's kind of how I roll.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to work at Circle Rep, which you probably don't remember. So that was Lanford Wilson, and that did more American classic plays.
Okay.
That was more my style, but I had the job there, and so I ran with it. And then I worked in the casting office my last year at NYU, and then I moved to another office. I was just really sick of being poor in New York. I mean, it's really hard to survive here. And the theater casting assistant job, I was making nothing.
I was going to say, it's still,
It was really, really difficult. And I was trying to get work at agencies, and nothing was happening. And I just said to my writing partner, Jim, we're doing all these TV scripts. We need to be in LA.
Right.
And he wasn't.
Were you still auditioning as an actor or no?
Not really. I had done one audition and did get called back. I don't know why. It was for a TV pilot about the pages in the Senate, in the U.S. Senate.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an ensemble.
Wow.
Yeah, comedy. And I went in and read, but I was so nervous, my face was literally shaking that I thought they were going to call like a paramedic to take me away in an ambulance.
Sure.
And that's when it hit me that this was probably not the thing for me. I was also studying dance. I studied with Joffrey Ballet, and you're a dancer.
Of course, yeah.
So I loved. I mean, I was a natural, but my teachers at NYU said you need the basics. So you got to go to ballet class. And I was grumbling the whole time I walked over to 6th Avenue, but then I just fell in love with ballet, and it was really cool. And I got to be in the background of for 1 month, they did a show with Rudolph Nureyev.
Okay.
So I got to stand behind him, and it was at the Mark Hellinger Theater, which is our church.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so I said to
That was technically Broadway, though, right?
It was a big Broadway.
I was going to say.
I got to walk out of the stage door and have people scream. I thought for me, but it was for him.
Right. Making your Broadway debut.
Well, that's my Broadway debut, so I have been on Broadway. So
yeah,
I am legitimately okay to be here then.
Yeah, right.
In these chairs.
Right.
Where Randy Graff sat.
Yes, that's right. Randy Graff was here. Yeah.
God.
Love her.
Stalking you quietly.
Oh, no. We love Randy Graff. You can talk about Randy Graff anytime.
Yeah, okay. So I was sick of being poor here, and then I said to my writing partner, Jim, we have to go out to LA. And he's kind of hemmed and hawed. I just got out. I was in a 5th floor walk-up with 2 burners on top of half a refrigerator in this teeny tiny studio, and stayed with a friend in LA. And then Jim came out 3 months later, and then about 4 months later we got our first gig.
Wow.
Which was really fast.
Yeah.
And people said, it's going to take you years and years and years and years, but we just kept writing spec script after spec script after spec script.
Were you entering that business at a time where it was really peaking, right? Feels like.
Yeah, there were lots of sitcoms on.
Right.
So we had no money, so we would just go to free tapings of shows, and that's how we learned the format, because there were no scripts you could get. There weren't computers yet.
Right.
So where would you read a script? Unless you knew somebody, which, we started to know people at different studios.
Right.
And we'd say, send us scripts, and we would just read them, and that's how we would learn formatting of a script. I would just watch old TV shows and see they have a little scene, and then they have a commercial. And then they have 3 scenes in a commercial, and 3 scenes in a commercial.
Right.
So then I later learned that's a cold open.
Yeah.
And then that's Act 1, and then it's a break, and then that's Act 2. And then they have a little thing at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's called the tag.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just had to learn just
on the spot.
And it wasn't until we got Golden Girls where that was like comedy writing 101. We were thrown into the fire with that.
Yeah.
I really, really learned. I
Yeah.
know this jumping ahead, but
there was one thing that I wanted to mention, and I had it. Where did I have? Oh, I guess writing spec scripts. Right, is like when I was a kid, I had this desire to be a writer too because I was so into the sitcom and whatnot.
What
And
was your favorite sitcom?
so my favorite sitcom, and I was going to bring this up to you actually, is Boy Meets World. Boy Meets World since I was a kid.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's funny,
There's
right?
classics and there's Boy Meets World.
Oh my gosh.
Ow. Yeah.
So
I mean, it's cute for a kid, you know.
I
was watching Norman Lear as a kid.
Yes, I know
And you're
Norman Lear.
watching Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
Okay, that now explains a lot.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, ripping me apart.
Yeah.
So
it is your show. You mean I have to be nice to you? I didn't sign any clause.
Yeah,
with
you
that.
didn't. No, you didn't. But so yeah, Boy Meets World was huge for me as a kid. It set such a precedent for like, and subsequently, Girl Meets World is another one I grew up on too. And like, I was writing Girl Meets World spec scripts. Okay, so I wrote 2 full
They're
Girl Meets World.
clamoring for those now.
Yeah, yeah, everyone wants them. Yeah. You should read them. But I would like to read them because I'm like, I don't even know what I put in there. They're on some hard drive somewhere, but they exist for sure. Okay. But I must have written when I was like 12 or 13 because I was, and I wanted to go to taping so bad, but nothing was shooting here. No sitcoms were really shooting in New York until
Cosby was over.
Yeah. And the only live taping of a sitcom I've ever been to, there was one I was supposed to go to one on March 13th, 2020. And also
what happened then?
Yeah. But the only sitcom taping I've ever been to was Murphy Brown, because Murphy Brown, the reboot, came back and was filming in Queens.
And what did you think of that?
I was so cool. I mean, I was so into Boy and Girl Meets World that I was watching I would contact people and say, hey, tell me everything about the taping. And so that people would give me a breakdown of the episode and how it worked, how many takes they did, and all this stuff because I just wanted to know so much about it. I actually, funny enough, I made friends with someone who was there every week, who's a writer, and he would go.
Was a writer on the show?
He was a writer in general, and then he would go to tapings every week, and then became friends with the cast and crew and whatnot. And now is like a full-time TV writer, and work. And he just came to New York for the first time this weekend. I didn't tell you that, Miles. Yeah, we didn't. I've still never met him. We were like pen pals for like 10 years. Anyway, but regardless, I was writing these spec scripts too. And I want to ask you what a spec script is. We keep mentioning it. What is a spec script? You wrote one to Alice with Linda Lavin.
So spec meaning short for speculative, so nobody pays you for it.
Right.
So you just write it on your own.
Right.
And it's a sample of writing.
Right.
And back then you would do a show that was on the air, because writing for an existing series, you have to have an ear for existing characters. You're not making them up. Whereas when you write a pilot, in your head, it can be anything.
Yeah.
So that's it's much different talent.
Right.
And I think my acting helped because I was always told, acting is reacting and listening to the other person.
Right.
So by listening, you would hear rhythms or what people would say on the shows and repeat that.
Yeah.
So I think one of the first ones was Alice. And then we did A Facts of Life, and there was a show called Love Sydney, and then we went to this taping. It was the show had been picked up, and they just started shooting episodes. It wasn't on the air yet, but it was this odd little show about a bunch of people in a bar in Boston. Someone should start singing the theme song.
Cheers.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
And Jim and I looked at each other and we thought, this is our style. It wasn't the joke. It was characters.
Right.
Just hanging out.
Incredibly
and fighting.
character-based.
And
right.
it wasn't your typical show like Boy Meets World.
Oh, come
Oh,
on.
my God. Now just stick it in and turn it.
Oh, my goodness.
It wasn't one of those like couch shows and
Sure.
homes and kids and everything. It was like just people having real relationships. And we went back we were sharing a bottom of a house, and we just started writing a Cheers spec. And luckily, then Cheers came on the air and people were loving it, but we were the first Cheers spec out of the gate. So it wasn't like people knew about it even.
Right.
And so that was, suddenly we were the flavor of the month. And all the people that ignored us or sent us rejection letters were, hey, you want to go to lunch and take you here and there, and suddenly submitting us wanting to represent us. Yeah.
So that was what helped you get your first agent.
Yes. And then that year, we got offered 2 shows. One was a Madeline Kahn TV series.
Crazy
that we said no. But our mentor was developed this other show, so we went on that one. And that led to us getting a pilot at CBS. And,
You might have just said this, but who did you submit your spec to exactly? Did you just send it out to a bunch of different reps?
You go to meetings and everybody you talk to, hey, who do you know? And some people are really open to that.
Right. It's kind of like a word of mouth thing.
Yes, it definitely is. It's networking.
Right.
It's basically networking. And back then, because there were so many TV shows that needed staffing, and at all levels, so they were looking for young people to write them. But it's just getting your foot in the door, as my grandmother would say. Just get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
She literally even said that after we were on Golden Girls. Just get your foot in the door. And it's like, we called her Mama. I said, I think my foot's in the door. I don't know about my whole body yet, but
right.
We were
the foot at least up to knee up.
Was getting there. Yes.
Yeah. What I was gonna ask was Cheers. In my head, was it? I guess it was, but was it clever to write a spec script to a show that was uber successful like that, or would you want?
Though.
Okay.
In the beginning, it took many years.
Okay, got it.
Maybe like a year and a half for it to suddenly start to. It was going to get canceled.
Okay.
It was very low rated. It was just not a show that anybody kind of knew. Like, what was that? I mean, it was so unusual for sitcoms back then. And then people just loved. They knew that the writing was good. They knew that the actors were obviously very talented, but it didn't feel like of that time.
Yeah.
But people in the business read it and knew that was really strong writing.
Gotcha.
So then they started,
So if you could match that caliber.
Yes.
Right.
So we did actually meet on Full House. It was more your genre.
Boy Meets World is better than Full House.
Oh my God. Okay.
We're just spewing controversial takes now.
Your team, Boy Meets World, right?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
100%.
So, that was just the one. It was just interesting because I kept saying, all our spec scripts are good, but somebody said, everybody has piles of scripts on their desk, now they're all in the computer. What is going to bring yours to the top of that pile and make them read that or make them remember that?
Right.
It's got to be either a story that stands out or a new show or just something that pops. And I think because it was a new show, and there was no other cheer specs. It went, boom,
I see.
Who are these people? How do they know the show? How do they get those characters? How do they know them? It sounds like the show. So I think that was very helpful. Years later, I had this writer contacted us with a Mary Tyler Moore show, Spec, 20 years after it had been off the air. And I was like, that was so smart of him to write as if it was still live.
It is such a great idea.
And so we were like, who is this person? We have to meet him. And we were doing a pilot, and we said, if you want to hang out with us. But that was a really smart move to come up with something so bold. Like, there was no place he could sell that.
Because everybody was writing Big Bang Theory specs, I imagine. And everyone's writing specs of the biggest shows that are
but to
Seinfeld.
pick a show that's, 20 years old, that would be something like writing All in the Family now. Like, it would be kind of interesting.
It'd be interesting for sure.
Yeah, or what would those characters be doing today, or how would they respond to
Right. Or even just writing it with this modern lens is different.
Yeah, would be really cool.
Yeah, that is really cool. So talk to me about this pilot. I wrote this down. It's called Just Our Luck, right? This was the pilot that you turned on the Madeline Kahn one for, or no?
Yes.
Yeah. So talk to me
You're
about...
really going to make me talk about that.
I do want to talk about Just Our Luck.
This is retribution for all the Boy Meets World. I get where we're going here. If it wasn't raining, I'd be out the door. Yes, it was... the pilot got picked up to series for a 13-episode order. It was on ABC.
Huge.
It was produced by the producing company that did 48 Hours, which was Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte, I believe. So they kind of went in and sold an idea, black, white, buddy comedy. But this idea was taking that and adding I Dream of Jeannie to it.
Right. And it's funny because, so essentially the idea was exactly that, right? It was like...
a white guy.
Yeah.
He was a newscaster, a weather guy.
Yeah, and he finds a
bottle on Venice Boulevard. It knocks it over, and out pops a hip black genie.
Right.
And somebody bought this idea and made a pilot, and then said, "Let's put it on ABC and order for 13 episodes."
Yeah, well, what's funny is like I wonder. I guess I wondered about what I was wondering about it because this concept has been done a couple of times because there was also the Michael Jacobs Genie show that happened after somewhere in the 90s too. Like, and I guess what do you think the appeal to that idea was originally?
Idea?
Well, the genie idea and also like the hip idea, was that more of the vibe? Do you think like we're gonna pick this up because this feels fresh for a younger audience?
Yes, I think they thought that.
Okay,
and I think people have always been since Aladdin talking about like, oh, if you rub it, a genie comes out and gives you wishes.
I wish.
Like, who wouldn't want that to happen?
Right.
It was so ludicrous, and even worse, the genie comes out, the black guy, and says to the white guy, "How can I help you, master?"
so it might be a little problematic.
So nobody read the script, flagged that from the studio to the network to the producers, actors, filmed it, nothing. So then the critics get a hold of it and go, "Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
In what world, even back then, would you ever say that?"
We used something so bad that in the 90s, they're like, whoa, hey.
Yeah, in the 90s, they're like, this was too far.
But even in the 90s, I knew that was like, that was ridiculous. That was crazy.
Right.
So then it became a whole controversy, and then the NAACP got involved, and then we started getting shit for it because why did you hire two unproduced white writers over any black writers on staff when you have a black character?
Right.
So they did end up bringing on a black writer.
But
anyway,
at that point, the show, I guess at that point, how many episodes did you guys wind up actually shooting?
I think we did all 13. I think we only aired 8.
Oh, wow.
We got to write 2 or 3, but I got Don Cornelius from Soul Train, the host, was a guest on, and then Roy Orbison was a guest on the show. So we did have some cool guests, and then,
And this is your first time working on like a pilot that you were attached to from the beginning, becoming and getting picked up.
Well, I wasn't involved in the pilot.
No, but I just mean like you were attached to the show
from the first episode.
When it gets
I'll
to
never forget the very first day we get to our office. It was on the lot, and we have a big table read, and there was these big windows. And one of the actresses from the pilot walked in, and we saw the producers go, "Oh my God, didn't you tell her? Didn't you tell her?" And we're like, "What's happening?" And they said, "Come here." They walked her outside. We saw this in the courtyard. Just no sound. We're just watching the visuals. She had been cut from the pilot, and nobody told her.
Oh.
So think if you're an actor, and all summer you're going, "I'm in an ABC series." And then you're there in front of all your castmates, and we just saw her face. We saw it on her face. Crumble, and then cry, and then run off. Welcome to Hollywood, folks.
Wow.
So that was my introduction to this is how TV series work. Like, this is how you treat people. Like, who dropped... I mean, obviously on the show they were dropping a lot of balls. For no one to have
vetted it.
Yeah, if you were not hiring her, like, where were her agents? Like, nobody.
Yeah,
it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. But I imagine an incredible learning experience
of what not to do.
Yeah,
and a lot of the shows that happened, we kept because we had a cool partnership that we would talk about, like, oh, they did this and that. Well, we would never do this if we ever get it, or when we get our own show.
Yeah.
We kind of just talked in the when rather than the if.
Right.
So we just learned how to treat people.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we were mistreated so many times along the way in little ways. Even on Golden Girls, the staff, everybody had those director chairs with their names printed on it.
Mm-hmm.
We had none. It was like Duck, Duck, Goose, and they took away our chairs. And we're like, where's our names? Yeah. So even something little like, what would it have cost them to $45 to get us a chair?
Right.
So then you just feel unwanted there.
Yeah.
Why would you hire somebody and then make them feel that way? That's like, how is that conducive to good writing and feeling like, oh, I can't wait to go to work today.
And just like not a healthy workspace, right?
Yeah.
You're also talking about a time in the sitcom when writers were not on set, which sounds so bizarre to me. When I read that in your book, I was like, I would never think that was a thing. But also you're talking about a time where actors and writers were not allowed to communicate. So
that still went on for many years.
Into Gilmore Girls.
Yes.
So, and that's like shocking to me.
We were on set for rehearsals.
Right.
But back then... it was before they had like a little corner where all the writers
like a writer's,
you sit in front of monitors and then you're right there in case a line doesn't get a laugh and you have to come up with another line. But back in those days in Golden Girls, we were in like a booth or something off to the side, and if we had to run in, but usually it was a main producer that would come in if there was something that happened.
Right.
But otherwise, we were just in there with the network people, all watching it on different monitors.
I was gonna say you were in but then in Roseanne you had Roseanne was a different. You weren't on the set during the taping, but you were.
Well, she wouldn't allow us down there. The main producer was on the floor with her. We were up in the booth, up behind the bleachers, with the network executive that wasn't allowed to speak because she, by the time we got on Roseanne, it was a huge success.
It was a huge hit, yeah.
And she barred Carsey Werner, which was producing the show, from even coming down on the set.
Right.
She was that mad at how she was treated.
Right.
And because it was success, they just had to...
She had free reign. So let's talk a little bit about Golden Girls. You got Golden Girls through a pitch that your agent essentially got you a meeting to pitch, right?
They send your script in, and they like probably the cheers. I guess that was the script. And then you have to go in. We had to watch a videotape of the show because they couldn't just send it on a computer.
Course.
So you sit in a room, you watch it. Then we go back home and we discuss pitching different episode ideas. And you go in with maybe 4 fleshed out.
Is that a common thing? Is that really?
Yeah. What have you heard?
Well, I don't know. I guess the idea of
what did Robert Horn say?
I don't remember what Robert said in regards to that. Yeah, but I guess the idea of it being like, all right, here, watch our show and then give us ideas for episodes feels so.
I just steal them.
Yeah, like in my head, I would take your idea, not hire you, and then hire someone I don't know that was more cost efficient or something like that.
SNL do that, right? When you
SNL
when they ask for almost like their joke donations, idea donations, and they say they'll give you credit. Potentially, maybe, and then...
Yeah. Well, it just feels like it's a situation... It just feels like a classic Hollywood story.
Is that it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, would you like to lie down?
And it feels like such a weathered, 2025, you heard all of these Hollywood stories. There are movies made about these types of stories that maybe were a little newer back then, and maybe that's why the honor system...
Well, there's somebody there writing them down, and they, I guess... put them in the thing, and they'll say, "Oh no, we're working on something like this."
Okay.
There's agents and corporations involved. I think they're, not wanting to get into trouble, but you're going to hit on some similar ideas.
Sure.
But they want you to come in and pitch something good so they could hire you. They need you
to do that.
They can't write every episode. The staff, they need freelance writers to come in.
Right.
So we luckily got an episode, went off and wrote it, and then turned it in, and they loved it so much, which is really hard to get writers to write a good first draft. And if you find writers that can do that, you glom onto them and pull them in, because you're not in the room, so you don't know how the characters are sounding and where you're taking them. But because we went to the early tapings of Golden Girls, we got to see a little bit, hear more than the pilot, so we kind of knew, oh, Rose is doing this, and she's tell long stories, so we put that in the script.
Right.
And they're going, wait a minute. That's
nuanced.
really smart that they're already picking up on the rhythm and what the characters do, and the sexiness of Blanche. Or
how far was the show in already by the time you guys got on it?
I don't know exactly. Probably like 3 or 4.
Okay, I mean, only 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah, that they had filmed.
Yeah,
because we turned our script in right away, and then so all summer they're working on scripts, and they don't start shooting till August. So. We got to maybe see 1 or 2, and then they were like, "Get here immediately!" And then you're just thrown into the fire, and it's churning.
Yeah, is that how the original? Because how big would you say at that time a writer's room was for right off the bat? Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean they've returned to small. Back then, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just 5 writers. That's it.
Wow.
And then 2 of us came on, and then Christopher Lloyd, who did Modern Family. Was just, they said, he's going to sit and watch you 2. And he sat on the couch watching me and my writing partner like we were a TV show, freaking out every day.
Right.
And so I take full credit for his career.
Yeah, for his success.
But then on Roseanne, there were 21 writers.
Right.
So Tom and Roseanne, when they were still together, they would bring a lot of their stand-up comedy friends like Norm Macdonald and different people that were not writers. They were just really funny people.
Right.
And then on that, we had to break up into different rooms. So it would be like whoever got to run a room. So they would give us Norm Macdonald and Laura Keitling and most of the stand-up comedy friends. And then other times Amy Sherman, that's how we got to know her.
Right. But continue. No, go for it.
We just like fell in love with her, and we're just like, who are you? Your mind is
right.
works in such a mysterious and fantastic way.
And there are 2 points that I wanted to mention was that, first of all, now writers' rooms have gone back to like
Small,
6 or so.
Because they can't afford to have
right.
writers.
And I think that's definitely a post-strike thing. Mm-hmm. But also, what was I going to say in regards to this? Were those original writers that were staffed for those first couple of episodes before you guys got there also staffed the same way where they were pitching ideas? They were pitching episode ideas.
You mean on Golden Girls or
like
Roseanne?
On Golden Girls, like based on a pilot?
Golden Girls, they were there from the beginning.
Okay.
2 of the writers, Nathan and Finero, had worked on Benson that Susan Harris had created.
Right.
I think Grossman and Spears had 2. So we were just newbies in that group.
Right.
And then they liked our episode, so they gave us another one, and then they liked that, so they gave us another one. We were not contracted for any more.
Oh, wow.
So that was really a sign of, we're doing good.
Right. So your when you say freelance, like what does that mean in terms of the contract?
We were just hired on Golden Girls to write that one episode, hand it in, and goodbye.
Oh,
and then we got brought on staff, and then you're a weekly staff salary.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
So then you have a place to go to work every day.
Wow, that's funny that they wouldn't just rely on the staff to write these episodes.
There just weren't enough people.
Right.
So that's why you have to have and I think the Guild has some rule where you have to bring in maybe 2 freelance, so you're getting other people
involved,
writing jobs.
Right. That's interesting. I should also mention about the Golden Girls story that it didn't quite go in the sense that like they weren't as crazy about your initial ideas, right? It was the Rose's mother idea that really made them.
We went in and pitched our little hearts out. You go to tap dance,
right?
And we're looking at our list and we're going 1, nope, 2, nope, 3, 4.
And they're telling you on the spot, like, not
yeah, no, or you see their faces like, yeah, no, that's not quite right. Wow. And so your heart is sinking and you're going, oh, fuck, I'm not going back to that car without an episode. Right. But I just saw our chances just like dwindling. And then they're like, okay, well, thank you. And we're just walking out the door. And in the door frame, I just flipped around and said, what if Rose's mother came to visit? And I don't know why I said that. I think my writing partner was like, be quiet. It was like, stop, And there was like a long pause, which seemed like, 3 minutes. It was probably like 2 seconds. And then they said, sit back down. Let's talk about that. I'm like, I think that's a good thing. And we sat back down, and they start just spitballing back and forth. And we're like going, what's happening?
Yeah.
We didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got back to my house, there was a call from our agent saying, you got an episode. And get to work immediately. And
talk about like a moment from like God or something.
But the show wasn't even on the air yet, so nobody knew anything. And you thought a show with 4 older ladies, nobody's going to watch that. We knew the actors were all great. We knew it was extremely funny, but it probably won't last very long. And we were hired to write another freelance episode for a show with Valerie Harper, who used to be on the Mary Tyler Moore Show as Rhoda. Mm-hmm. And we just somehow knew we have got to focus on the Golden Girls. So we said, they bought the idea for our script, but we didn't write the other Valerie Harper show. We just need to, and it was a smart gamble.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because we just focused on it and just wrote our butts off and just.
And who was making these decisions? Was it network executives as well as Susan Harris? You said wasn't necessarily involved in that first season as much, right? Because she was ill.
Yes, she would write episodes and hand them in, and then we kind of didn't rewrite them. We would just trim them for time.
Yeah.
But she wasn't there for the day-to-day. She would get all the scripts and obviously give her notes and comments.
Yeah.
But yes, the studio network had to approve every writer, every step of the way.
In that regard,
And that can be very intrusive, and on a show that is struggling, you get more network notes. And once a show is a big hit, then they're like,
leave you alone a little bit.
Yeah, you can leave us alone. We got this.
Right.
But there was so much pressure on Golden Girls that Whit Thomas, who are non-writing producers, were in the writer's room after each run-through. I think they knew we have these big stars, this big opportunity. We can't screw this up.
Right.
And that was scary because we would see all the other writers in the room who were really established. They were nervous to pitch in the room. So if they were nervous to pitch, how do you think we felt? We were like, I couldn't talk.
Right.
It was really a scary
Which really does inhibit the creative process.
I think so. So that was another thing Jim and I talked about. When we get our show, we would never make writers feel inhibited, because then if you should be able to spout out any crazy, stupid idea, because maybe your idea would spark something in you or me, or we didn't know.
Right.
But we clocked all that and talked about, this is what we would do, this is what we wouldn't do, and we ended up doing that.
Right. And it is those craziest ideas that honestly hit like a spark of some sort. I think about it with like a show like Curb Your Enthusiasm, right? They have to be able to come up with the most wacky, ridiculous concepts. Otherwise, a show like that, especially, and they're doing it on the spot because it's more improvised, right? Like, otherwise, it just doesn't work. So if I feel like what I'm coming up with is curated or something in some ways, like, tweaked or something, it's just
normally you're around a big table and you're just spouting and you're just saying, okay, this is the stupidest thing, but what if da 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 da? And we saw on that show, like, a writer would write it down and then we'd go like this, and then if you went. Then you would say it. But if you're sitting across the table, I don't know what you wrote down. It looks like chicken scratch like that. And so I could get something off of your idea. But if you go, no, don't do that, don't say that, then that's just a lost opportunity as far as I was concerned.
Right. So not only does your episode, the Rose's Mother episode, which is actually called Blanche and the Younger Man.
I changed it because I wanted to get an Emmy nomination. And I thought, they're never going to give an Emmy to Blanche and the Younger Man. So I kind of campaigned to get it to change to Rose's Mother.
Oh, really?
So
that's
if
funny.
you look on it, it says, also known as. But
that's funny.
That's how that'll happen.
But not only did you pitch this idea and get picked up and wound up getting staffed, but you got a WGA nomination for the episode.
In season 1.
That's crazy.
Crazy. I mean, these young staff writers. So we're not even billed every episode, even though we're there.
That's an anomaly in a certain respect. How many episodes that season got a nomination?
I think the pilot, maybe one.
And you guys. Wow.
Yeah. So we went to the awards, and we get there, and they put us at the table right in front of the podium. So we're like, oh, they must know we won. I was like, oh, fuck, we don't have a speech. And I said, Jim, come up. He wouldn't. Anyway. All the ladies came up to our table and said hello, and but Estelle was the only one that stayed for our category.
Sure.
Because she was our buddy, and we did end up losing. I'm like, why did you put us here? But really, it is true. Like, just to be nominated, and that it was funny because I was seeing a show at the Public Theater, the Colored Museum. I remember.
Oh, funny.
And I was staying with a friend here. And again, we didn't have phones with messages.
Yeah.
And I called her and I said, did I get any messages at her apartment? And she said, your agent called. I think you should. They said, call ASAP. So I'm in the lobby at the Public Theater, and they said, you got a nomination for the Writers Guild. And I think I remember watching the play. The whole time I'm going, oh my God, like, for such a young person and our second job, to have that.
How did that change?
Changed everything.
You did, right?
Yeah, and then the show was such a huge success, and watching it every week go up, the Nielsen ratings to higher numbers. It's just all of a sudden we were known. We were like the Golden Girl writers, and you
still are. I mean,
still are. Still you're schlepping that title around.
But it's. I mean, and notably so. I have to tell you, like, I was watching Golden Girls again last night, and like, there's not a dull moment. It is unbelievable how well that show is written through and through, so that there's never, and of course, still holds up in many respects.
Isn't that wild?
It's unbelievable.
Because they said to us, write stories that are about these characters in a real organic way.
Right.
And back then there was this whole thing like on Facts of Life where they would do a very special episode.
Right.
So it was kind of funny and silly show, and then they would do something, Belair smokes a cigarette or something like that.
Right.
Or,
life lesson-y
something
type.
Like
that.
Yeah. Tootie, had food poisoning. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they did not want that. They said they can be really heavy issues, and we did stuff. Characters coming out of the closet, or we did sexual harassment, but organically from, and to feel like it was real. And they wanted like a joke per page, but it was all character based. So it wasn't just, a silly stand-up comics joke. It was real.
Right.
And I think that's why those issues, unfortunately, sexual harassment is still an issue.
Yeah.
And so when you watch the show and you see them deal with dementia and suicide and but in a real way, what those people at that age would really deal with.
And it's funny, too, because a testament to it is the fact that people always ask, are you a Blanche? Are you a Rose? Are you a... And you wouldn't be able to ask questions like that if the characters weren't incredibly distinct in who they are.
But that's another thing they taught us. If a joke bombed, coming out of, let's say, B. Arthur's mouth, you can't just give it to Rue McClanahan.
Right.
That's tacky, hacky. You just got to come up with a new one.
Offensive to them.
Yeah, because I'm like, wait a minute. But sometimes if they said, if they were on stage and in rehearsal, and if Rue said, no, let me try that line, it could get a laugh.
Right.
But you couldn't switch it around, and so that's something we took to every job.
Right.
Like, and you'd have to teach the writers that.
Yeah.
You can't just substitute jokes, because sometimes you want to go, hey, it's a funny joke. What if this other person says it? But it's just bad form on a TV show.
And sometimes you kind of have like a joke pocket. Like you almost have like I know these jokes will work, or I have these jokes, I have to save them. But even that.
But I never think that way.
Oh, yeah?
I don't even think I'm a funny writer.
Sure.
And so, what do you mean sure? Wow. You came back with that a little too quickly. Yeah, you're not really.
No.
Whoa. Okay. It's still getting me back for the Boy Meets World.
It's just still the Boy Meets World thing. And we're not done with the Boy Meets World thing. It's coming back later, too.
I just... If it's coming out of character, and I learned that from growing up watching Norman Lear shows, they were very socially conscious storylines, but they were also very funny and really smart. And that's the kind of writing I've always wanted to do.
Right.
And I got to tell Norman Lear that before.
Did you?
Before he passed, he was getting so old. I'm like, I'm never going to meet him. I kind of gave up on it. And then I think he was 99.
Yeah.
And someone said, oh, he's producing this movie. They're doing a little screening on the West Side. Can you get there in an hour? I said, I'm going to get there in 5 minutes. And I got in my car and I zoomed over. I'm sure I probably should have put like an alarm,
siren
on top to get there. And it was just, thank you. I just said thank you. And we got to talk about, he did Maude and got to talk about B. Arthur. And so it was a cool dream come true.
It's another interesting thing about Golden Girls that you had written in the book a couple of times, which I think is so interesting and so true, is that if a joke wasn't landing, it probably was your fault, not theirs, because every single one of them, the timing on it was just pristine. And
especially Estelle, we always thought, because she always had what we call the button of the scene. Yeah. And we knew we could go to her for, she could walk through, and I pictured it. I can almost hear, the crack of the bat, and they'd be, over the fence. I mean, she would just hit these jokes, and it was like, boom, 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 and you just watch it go over.
Crazy.
And it was, but again, it's the, they call it lightning in a bottle when you get the, really well-written characters by Susan Harris, and then extremely well-cast show, and then you put those actors, and then, a staff of writers that could bring that every week.
So she didn't get a laugh. It's not her.
It's not her. It's not her. It's funny. It's I don't know. I would hope so. That all the women passed away. I would say within the last 20 years or so, and I would hope that they realized the kind of success. I turned to him yesterday and I was like, "This might be the most iconic show of all time." It really might
I don't
be
know
the
anybody that doesn't like it.
There's no one who doesn't
any
like
age.
it.
I mean, from little kids.
It is. It's so
more popular now than it's ever been.
And it just feels like it could have been written today, but also has timelessness and it. And I would hope that the four of them knew what kind of thing that but it's special. I think they did, right?
I mean, because it was so popular while they were living,
right?
And they got to go out in the world and someone like Rue McClanahan, who was always the second banana, as they say. I don't know where that term came from.
Yeah.
And suddenly she's a leading lady. And
right.
everywhere she goes, she gets mobbed. And Estelle was doing off-Broadway plays. I mean, she would tell me stories. She would, make dinner for her two sons. And then she'd go off to La Mama or even smaller little off-Broadway shows. And her kids would come and I talked to them. And they would say, they'd look and their mother would be on stage wearing a bra and a slip, and oh my God. So I want to actually write a one-woman show for someone like Rhea Perlman to play Estelle Getty and talk about what's that like to have a dream your whole life, thinking and when you get to be 40, 50. It's not happening. It's not happening. And then,
boom.
Yeah, to just keep that dream alive. I think it could be really inspirational.
Yeah, I think so too.
So
I think so
go
too.
ahead and do it.
What do you think you walk away? I mean, we've mentioned a couple of the things, but actually, I was wondering if you could tell the story about Betty White with Estelle and how there was a moment where Estelle was having, where she would struggle to remember certain lines, and what you thought the situation was, and then what you found out it to be.
Or what I thought it was.
Right.
So, Elle was panicked about the live tapings, and she had anxiety issues.
Right.
And she said, I'm going to therapy like twice a week for it. In the writer's room, they thought that she was out going to parties
Right.
and not home learning her lines.
Right.
What we didn't know at the time was that she was experiencing early dementia. So they would, if you see her eating raisins in scenes, it's because the lines are written on her hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't like in the writer's room that they were putting her down and they were saying we should get her managers in and really get her to buckle down. This was, again, back then, I don't think we knew as much about dementia.
Yeah.
But I knew she was in therapy. I mean, twice a week is a lot.
Yeah.
And so she would go up on her lines, during tape night. And so they would have to yell cut. And then Betty would go up to the bleachers and start making jokes. And so I was very protective of Estelle. So I'm like, how dare she do that? And like, I thought she was kind of making fun of her.
Right.
And I thought she was more like her Mary Tyler Moore, Sue Ann Niven bitchy character than the bubble-headed Rose. And you could tell B. Arthur didn't like it either. Wasn't until much older in the past couple of years and writing the book that I got to thinking maybe Betty was taking the attention away from Estelle so that Estelle could look at the lines and work on it and go up to the bleachers and get all the attention, get laughs, and let her collect herself and calm down, and then they could keep taping because you had to tape it. I mean, we couldn't go on with the show unless she got her lines. Right. So I think it's just becoming more mature and seeing different points of view.
Seeing a different point of view.
But for years, I was just kind of mad at Betty White for doing that.
Right.
I mean, I think that's part of why you hear stories about why B and Betty didn't get along. Yeah. And I think because B comes from theater and you don't break character. And to that, Betty White, they say when they turned on the TV cameras, Betty White was on because she did really the very beginning of television. She was there hosting shows and had her own sitcom. So she could turn it on and off like that. And I'm sure you know actors like that. Yeah. And other people just need to stay in character. Right. So it was just different ways of working, I think.
Right. And I'm gonna just graze on this. Actually, see, it's like one thing comes to me, and then another thing just rolls off because the book is so good. You have to read the book. Okay. But and I don't want to spoil too much from it too, but I do want to mention this like beautiful moment when I watched the Rose's Mother episode, and then I read the chapter, and then you had mentioned that B. Arthur's mother had passed away in the middle of filming that episode, and
before. So you read it on Monday, you rehearse Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday's camera blocking, and then Friday is tape day in front of the audience. So I think her mother died like Tuesday or Wednesday. So the producer said, look, I mean, it's a big episode. We're going to cancel it and we'll reschedule it. And I think B. Arthur, coming from the theater and the idea of the show must go on, she knew everybody on that crew, they needed the paychecks. Right. Like she was thinking about everybody else except herself. And she said, no, I'm going to get it together and we're going to do the show. Yeah. And everyone's like, I can't believe it. I don't think everyone realized that the show was about mothers and daughters. So when they get to that kitchen scene and Estelle and B have to talk about, being treated like a person, not like an old lady or a child. Right. It's so emotional, and you can see, and B can't even look at Estelle in the eye because I think she would just break and start crying. Yeah. And so she kind of turns her head away, and I still, to this day, watch it, and the hairs on my arms
because if you didn't know, you wouldn't know.
No, it just looks like a real emotional scene.
But it's just like that. There's a moment where you could see her get just a little choked up. Yes. And I had to go back and rewatch it, and I was like, Oh my
She
gosh.
did.
Yeah,
She did.
yeah. It's a beautiful
she went
moment.
there. You could tell she's thinking of her own mother.
It's a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
It really is. The common question that I don't even want to ask, but I just want to graze upon is like this idea, this notion.
Grazing.
Yeah.
That's just graze.
Yeah,
Okay.
just graze upon
Okay.
it. The idea that they didn't get along.
Yes.
You know, and you mentioned in the book that like just like families, there was maybe bickering or there were things, but at the end of the day, they wouldn't have been as successful at what they did in their rhythm and their pattern if
And
they
they're
had
professionals.
Right.
I mean, since all that, I have learned that things were said.
Sure.
I wasn't there, so I didn't, I know I probably could have sold more books had I been a little more sensationalistic
Sure.
with some of the word choices, but that's
Sure.
not me. I have to write from my experience. Even my publishers kept saying, you're writing a lot of this happened. They wanted scenes. And I felt like I didn't want to put words in Betty White's mouth of what
Right.
they said.
Right.
I could only go by things I heard
Right.
and what I was privy to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Right.
just my style. But
Yeah.
and also, luckily, I started keeping journals at NYU. My modern dance
Unbelievable.
teacher said, start a journal that
Yeah.
she would read. Like, who would do that? And then we had to give her the journals, which is crazy. And then she lost them, by the way. But it got me into writing into journals. And so I luckily wrote through all these TV shows so that when I went to put the book together, the first thing I did was I went and pulled all the chapters about all the different girls that I worked with. So I was like, okay, that's 50% done. Now all I have to do is kind of talk about those same feelings or what was happening from my perspective of today.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the framework of the book.
Right, yeah. Let's talk about the idea of a joke capita. How many jokes per page? You said one joke a page.
At least.
At
Yes,
least.
Yes.
Okay, great. And that would equate to one a minute, right?
Yes. And
Right.
then on multicams, you'll notice people usually come into a room with a joke and leave with a joke.
Oh, interesting.
You'll
No, I've
see
never
that, which
noticed
is
that.
kind of very fake writing, but then it becomes an occupational hazard. So when I'm in real life, you'll notice I'll probably make a joke when I leave here today. It's just something I've naturally picked up.
Right,
Too.
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
We'll see.
Yeah, I guess we'll
Yeah,
see if the
yeah,
joke is
yeah.
good. Yeah. Talk to me about why you guys weren't asked to come back for the subsequent seasons of Golden Girls after the first.
It was very political. So the producers of the show had one writer that they had write the freelance episode, and then at the same time we were writing one, and this person's writing was kind of page one rewrite, and ours was mostly the same.
Right.
So I think there were some bruised egos that, here's someone they recommended, didn't quite work out for whatever reason, and the staff was like, but these guys nailed it. Like,
Right.
so I feel like we were never made fully welcome, and we don't really know the story why. Susan Harris said to us at the wrap party, we'll see you in a couple months. And that's how I left the wrap party going, yes, we're back. And I think because it was such a hit show, they felt they could get anybody in town for
Right.
whatever price.
Right.
And, our price would have gone up, so they could get someone cheaper in there.
Sure.
So it was a real blow
Yeah.
to not be asked back and not really know why. But it was a great life lesson and business lesson that you move on. And
Right.
luckily, that gave us many, many opportunities, and we learned so much and have so many friends from that. And
Of course.
I feel so lucky to have been there during season one when it all, came together, and we got to be in the room when we're looking in phone books for where should Rose be from. And,
Yeah.
oh, St. Olaf, that sounds good.
Right.
So
right.
all those really cool moments to have been there, I feel very fortunate.
Was it easier to find a job having Golden Girls on your resume?
Of course, everybody wanted to meet us.
Yeah.
But then the next year, we didn't get staffed on the show.
Right.
But we got to do a bunch of other freelance episodes, and
Right.
one was for a little show called Fame
Yes.
that Debbie Allen directed, and this
Crazy.
unknown person named Janet Jackson
Yeah.
was a star in.
Yeah.
And it was her first music video.
Crazy.
I mean, what are the
And this
odds
is
on
full
that
circle
happening?
since you auditioned for the film Fame. Is that
Yes, and I didn't get it. I was called back though, but
Hot Lunch at the
but
time?
I couldn't. Yeah, it was called Hot Lunch, but I couldn't sing. But it was for Alan Parker. I didn't know it at the time. It was
So
one
funny.
of those mass calls, and we all the young students, and I was one of them at NYU. We skipped school to go to this
Fame audition.
Yeah, and it was just around the block and around the block.
Right.
And all my friends were like, they were all sent home, and for some reason, they just said, I kept moving on, and then all of a sudden, there was like, go in this room, and there's this older British man that I didn't know till later was Alan Parker, the director.
Crazy.
And so that was really cool until I came back that summer, back to New York in my first apartment on 9th Street. And they were filming the movie across the street. So I had to hear that song over and over again. Coming out of the windows, and just to remind me that...
it's okay. It wasn't that successful.
No, not at all. But I got the last laugh. I got to write for the show, and that was, again, another full circle moment. Like, what are the odds of that
So crazy.
happening?
Yeah, how funny. So let's talk about you guys had gone some time without having worked, and I'm going to jump to the 90s now. It's like you guys had... gone some time without working.
We're only at the 90s?
Yeah. So you'll be here for a minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna be here all day.
But you guys had gone some time without working, and then all of a sudden it was like a trifecta of jobs came your way. One of them was Boy Meets World, where you were offered a job on Boy Meets World. Is that right?
No, Full House.
There was in the book
World?
there was in one of your journal entries you guys got offered Roseanne. You were offered a pilot, and you were offered Boy Meets World.
We did? I don't remember. Oh my God.
I'm pulling. It's a good thing I have the source right here, because usually there are times where I will.
Was it Boy Meets World?
Yeah, that's why I was like. That's why I was like, oh my gosh, how funny. Hold on, because it was gonna come back. Hold on.
Okay.
I want to just so I can find the excerpt. This is the big moment, isn't it? Okay. Hold on. I know it's in one of the journal entries.
I didn't take it very seriously. I have to say, Boy Meets World? Really? I wrote that in the journal?
So May 17, 1993, we did it. We got the job, co-producers on Roseanne. We were so happy. We also got 2 more offers from ABC. Joe's Life, starring Peter Onorati by Bob Meyer, and Boy Meets World by Michael Jacobs. Quite a week, unemployed for exactly 1 year. I'm flying high, to say the least.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad. No. Wow. I didn't even remember that.
Well, you know that I would see that and I would be like, oh my gosh. I was like, what are the chances?
Yes. But
so,
back in the day, there were 17 sitcoms, multicams.
Right.
So we would get multiple offers. So many that I don't even remember that was one of them.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't take that very seriously.
Right. You know who was on? And I want to bring this back. Just one more Boy Meets World.
Oh, here we go.
Rue McClanahan did an episode of Boy Meets World.
Okay.
Season 1, episode 7, I think. And I'm good like that. Grandma was a Rolling Stone.
And what's his name? William Daniels?
William Daniels,
and his wife was
his wife on Boy Meets World.
And
she was in Golden Girls.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So I did get to meet her.
Oh, Bonnie Bartlett,
she was on Golden Girls.
And she was on St. Elsewhere.
Obsessed with St. Elsewhere.
Okay.
So that was one of my, I love. I would love to have written for that show.
Yeah.
But I don't think they would have thought us, even though it was a really funny show, it was more of an hour drama.
Right.
But
it was like a lighthearted drama.
Yeah, but I love things like that and 30-something, like those hour shows I could have really gotten into writing. But.
Yeah. Bonnie was also Bill's wife on Boy Meets World at one point. And this is a big week for Boy Meets World fans because Bill is coming back on Dancing with the Stars with Danielle this week to do a dance with her this week. Yeah. Mr. Feeney and Topanga. But anyway, let's talk about Roseanne and getting staffed on Roseanne when it was at its peak.
Well, we got offered the show and the pilot for season 1.
Oh, right.
And turned it down.
Yeah.
That I remember. Mm-hmm. And then we just made a play for...
Why did you guys turn it down?
Because they were offering it. We had to sign like a 7-year contract.
Okay.
Lori and John weren't signed to it yet.
Okay.
I loved Roseanne from watching her stand up.
Right.
But we just didn't know. And it was we were starting to develop our own TV series. And we thought... do we want to get locked into another series right away?
For such a prolonged period of time.
So we said no. And then when we saw she was just firing writers right and left in the first couple of seasons, I don't know if we would have... In the back of my mind, I thought, we would have been her pets and we would have saved the day.
Right.
That's my Jesus complex shining through. But I think we kind of dodged a bullet on that one. But then we came on season 5 and... it was such a great year, doing like pot smoking, and we got to write the lesbian kiss episode, and Yeah, I'm really glad we got to be on it when we did.
And at the peak of what it was, you mentioned 21 writers, one of them being Norm Macdonald. And I guess talk to me about the difference. What's the biggest difference between a stand-up writer and having these stand-up comedians in the room versus the nature of writing that you guys are doing, which is maybe a little bit more specific?
Jim and I, as a writing team, we kind of craft jokes together.
Right.
Whereas those guys, they just open their mouth and funny shit flies out.
Right.
So it's very intimidating when you're in a big writer's room and they're just like, funny, 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 and everyone's like screaming and laughing. And Jim and I kind of have to go, what if we change this word, that word? And we work on it
Craft
a lot on the joke, which you can't do in a writer's room.
Right.
So we were at a big disadvantage. But when we had the smaller rooms, we could teach them, this is how you craft a joke. And a lot of those people, like Pat Bullard and Laura Keitlinger, like I said, went on for still big sitcom writing careers. So I feel very good about being a part of that. Plus, you get to meet all those people. Like if we hadn't met Amy, we wouldn't have gone on Gilmore Girls. So you have to take each job and realize, all writers are talking and the people in the business. So that's why you don't want to burn any bridges.
Right.
But it was very interesting. In certain rooms, I felt very free and I could say anything. And then other rooms, it was like I couldn't talk.
Yeah.
And that was very difficult to maneuver. Like, why?
Right.
Why do I feel inhibited in one and the other? I didn't care if I said some stupid shit.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about writing with Norm Macdonald. This was before SNL, I imagine, right?
Oh, yeah, way before. But he would sit there and goes, I'm going to be the biggest comic in the world. And we're like, okay, Norm, I mean, you're really funny and talented, but the biggest?
Yeah.
But that's just the way he talked.
Right.
He was silly and funny and weird.
And I imagine he was saying it facetiously, like not.
I
like,
hope so. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he was just so quirky and interesting and just.
Right.
You knew there was something very special about him, and it was so sad. He died so young.
Yeah, too young for sure.
That he could have done, but it was really cool to see all the different personalities that were in that room.
Like brilliant minds. Yeah. But all that being said, working with Roseanne was maybe not the most kosher, and I think that it's funny because I was reading when I was reading the Roseanne chapter, I was kind of like super taken aback by it a little bit because I didn't know if this was kind of more just so who she was, where she was giving you guys numbers rather than by name. She would give you guys T-shirts.
She thought it was a joke. It's become a legend. So she was so known for firing writers that on our season, the first day on set, Tom and Roseanne said, all the writers line up. We have a gift for you. So I was, a gift, very exciting. I'm like, and then I heard, there's numbers, T-shirts with numbers on them. So I wanted to get number 13 because my birthday's October 13th.
Today.
And then all the writers are grumbling. I go, what's going on? And they said, no, the reason they're giving numbers is so they don't have to learn your name and then they can just point and go, 13, you're fired.
Crazy.
And I was like, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want a T-shirt. And then they go, here's your T-shirt. I still have the T-shirt, and I think I've worn it a couple times.
Right.
But that's just,
Crazy.
It wasn't funny. And again, I don't think you could get away with it today with people are just more aware of how you treat people in a work environment. But at the very beginning, when we went for the job interview, they literally said to us, we don't pat people on the back here. Mm-hmm. And at the time, we really wanted to be on the show, so we said, that's okay, we don't need that. But Jim and I learned everybody needs to be patted on the back. I mean, you're working hard. You want to be acknowledged. And acknowledge every single person, every craft person, a driver, a security guard. Like, why would you not?
Yeah, and it's not like a participation trophy thing. It's like there's a fine line. It's like she wasn't just not patting you on the back. It was kind of the opposite. She didn't
trust the writers.
Right.
So you went down to the set and go, we're working our butts off, and you just didn't feel. We were like going into like every time we'd go to the set, something could happen.
Right.
And something did happen after a table read. Her and Tom, we heard them screaming behind the set. A door slams, and then he comes around and says, she's going off to get electric shock. You got to write her out of the show this week. This is Monday. We're shooting it on Friday. You're taking Roseanne out of the show. It's called Roseanne. We were taught every scene has to either have Roseanne or she has to drive that scene, even if she wasn't in it.
Right.
So when you take that out, then what do you do?
What did you do?
Well, you saw the Connors. You saw what
I was going to say the Connors ran for 6 years
they
without
did.
Roseanne. Pretty good.
Well, to me, it was missing that core, and I kept
Sure.
hoping it was like, call it Darlene, like let
Sure.
her do it. And
Right.
I mean, how can you not want to watch Laurie Metcalf and John Goodman? So, I mean, they could get up there and read a phone book, and
Yeah.
I'd be happy.
Yeah. I just saw her, by the way, in that new play that she's
I
doing,
wanna see
Little Bear
it.
Bridge Road.
How is it?
She's incredible.
Yeah. So I saw her live here, again, a full circle moment, in a Lanford Wilson play called Balm and Gilead, and she had come from Chicago with it.
Yes, right.
And she has this literally like 4-page monologue. And it's all these crazy people in a big ensemble show in a diner, and all real skeevy people. And she just talks for like 4 pages. And I remember going, who the hell is this woman? And I kept bringing all my friends back, and I brought Jim back. You've got to see this new actress.
Right.
And you just knew she was really, really
Yeah.
special. And you can tell on Roseanne.
Yeah.
I mean, she crackles. She's just so alive.
And she can do it all too.
Everything.
She's so good at being funny, because she's funny, but also she just has this groundedness that I think she won an Emmy for this. She definitely was nominated for her guest appearance on Hacks. She was brilliant.
Yeah.
She was brilliant in that. I saw her in Grey House on Broadway. She was great in that. She's great in this play too. And actually, this play also premiered at Steppenwolf in Chicago too. Yeah, funny enough.
It's like his presence that theater actors have sometimes, especially when she's on screen.
You just don't know what's going to happen. It
Right.
could be anything.
Yeah.
It literally,
You-
her,
you-
you can laugh,
Yeah,
you can cry,
you don't,
know.
or it could be at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, she has scripts and words coming up, but it's like, where are you going? And you just kind of, you see her. Remember that show she did where she played with Alec Borstein, the nurse thing? Getting On? I think that was.
Oh, sure.
It was on HBO. It was
Yeah.
really, really interesting. And she played the head boss at
Yeah, no, she's
hospital.
brilliant. And there's something to speaking about this, and this is why I imagine you were so drawn and so good at sitcom writing, is because you are writing these short plays. You're writing a play for an audience.
That's how we thought of it. Like
Right.
those scenes with Roseanne and Darlene sitting on Darlene's bed, and Amy would take us and we would write those scenes.
Mm-hmm.
But when I finally got to meet Laurie, I remember the first day on the set, I go running up to her, Balm and Gilead, somebody's got to film it. Like, that was classic. And she was like, don't talk. We don't. Roseanne doesn't like you talking to actors.
Right.
So I found her very, But I just wanted to sit and just pick her brain, tell me
Right.
about theater and what's
Right.
it like. And,
Right. Why was that? Why did Roseanne not like actors talking to writers?
she just didn't trust them. Like, she thought they were going to go behind someone's back, or
Right.
and that was weird. They were the enemy. Like, there was a network in the studio, and I think she felt like nobody got her, and they didn't respect. This was her life, her story. So she wasn't just some actress cast in this. This was her. So of course it was very personal.
Right.
And back then they just didn't treat her with that respect.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine the studio and the network being some type of, being villainized in a certain respect because of all the network notes and all this, like them not. But it's funny that you had mentioned that Laurie felt in a way that she could be jeopardizing her job.
Well,
by
and
talking
Sandra
to
Bernhardt,
actors.
who I was a friend with, she also told me, like, just, I'm not going to be chit-chatting with you between takes, because she wanted to keep her job.
Yeah. Because it's funny, it's like then no one is safe, right? Because then the studio is the villains, but also the actor will be the villain if they're talking to you, and the writers were for the villains. So it just feels like everyone is kind of on a separate,
But yet somehow the show is so alive.
Right.
But think if it had been like, we all loved to go down to the set.
Yeah.
How much better it would be. But she also wanted it to be not. She wanted it to feel like you're just watching it really happen.
Yeah.
So it was one of the fastest tape nights.
Yeah.
She didn't care. It would just keep going, keep going, keep going.
Right.
Whereas other shows, they'd want to go, oh, let's do take 5, 6, 7. Let's get it perfect.
In front of
Let's
the
get your
audience.
hair, let's get your hair right. And you see the audience start to sleep, and then would throw candy at the audience. Get them sugared up. And but she was just like, no, it's okay. I want it to feel almost unrehearsed, and it does have that quality.
Whereas Golden Girls filmed twice. You mentioned that they filmed the episodes
back
2
then
times.
They did that. They did
Why?
it. They wanted 2 audiences, and
That's so funny.
And then you'd go to dinner, and you'd see like B and all them in robes, and Estelle would be, come have dinner with us. I'm going, I'm not having dinner next to B. Arthur in a robe. I'm sorry. I felt that was inappropriate. And also I was scared she might talk to us.
Right.
But it was just a different way of shooting it. Now they they block and tape a lot of the stuff, and they just do it kind of once, power through it, or stop and do many alternate takes.
Yeah, funny. So this episode, season 6, you guys wrote "Don't Ask, Don't Tell," and it was there was a same-sex kiss in the episode.
Shocking, yeah.
But
it became news. The 11 o'clock news did stories. I'd go to work, come home, and see us being talked about on the news.
Yeah.
How daring that was, and the world will blow up if two women kiss, and the networks are going to pull all their sponsors, and so the network said, no, we're not letting you film it. And luckily, Tom and Roseanne, and she at that time was a fighter for the underdog.
Yeah.
Well, what's happened, we don't know. But they said, if you don't film it, we will buy time on HBO. We'll pay to film it, and we'll put it on there. And ABC said, all right, well, I guess we'll do it.
Wow.
And they filmed it, and they edited it so you don't see very much. And it went on, and was a huge rating success.
Right.
And we all woke up the next morning, and the sun came out, and the birds were chirping, and the world went on.
Right. But it was when this was a pitched idea, because the episode kind of does revolve around that moment.
Yeah.
In the pitch, was that considered like, hey, maybe we should stay away from this, or was it immediately encouraged?
I never thought that the network would say no. They always were doing kind of edgy
Right.
material, and we wanted to. Roseanne seemed like such a cool person. What could we throw at her that would make her uncomfortable and everybody around her uncomfortable? And she had these gay characters in real life. I think her sister was gay, and originally I think the Laurie Metcalf character Jackie was going to be gay. And just thought, we'll deal with it like we deal with everything else on the show. She'll be funny, and she'll be...
And it was funny.
Yeah.
It's a very funny episode. Like, I watched it last night, and it's a funny episode,
But they just freaked out. I mean, everybody was really nervous back then about, again, losing sponsors, because television is about making money.
Right.
They don't care creatively. They just... And back then, you didn't want anything that would get people to change the channel.
Yeah.
So they wanted
well,
to keep
it's also funny because then we were discussing this yesterday. It's like... it seems as if ABC didn't actually care all that much. They're worried that their sponsors will care, right? So it's not necessarily that ABC feels homophobic or something like that. It's a market thing where they feel that their audiences will be worried or the sponsor will be worried. It's like, what is more? Do they feel that people will stop watching Roseanne because they do?
How dare you put that on? And,
okay.
We can't have that in our homes.
Right.
And what if our kids see that? They'll be kissing everybody.
Right.
It's still that idea when you think of like drag queens reading children's stories.
Sure.
Oh my God, those kids are going to see that and suddenly they're going to want to be drag queens.
Sure.
I mean, it's this idea that by talking about sex, people want to have sex.
Well, I wonder too, because if you look at like the way things are now, right? We laugh at the idea that this was something that was so ridiculed because it's done on television plenty now, and I wonder it's silly question, but also not. What has changed? Have audiences gained more of have we become more well-rounded, or has the network been less afraid?
I just realized it.
Yeah, and been like, we just don't care that maybe people...
I think more people came out. There was a big thing about everybody the more people that came out, the more people you would know. I have a friend, I have a brother, I have a father, I have a sibling, whoever. And so it wasn't something in the shadows. It was people you actually know. They always say that if you know somebody, it's hard to hate them or other them if you actually have real connection with them. So that's why there was this push, like, if you're LGBTQ, come out of the closet, and that way somebody would know you. So I think it was just, you couldn't go in a room and say homophobic slurs, because there could be someone like me in the room that go, wait a minute.
Right.
And same thing with like having women writers in there. There was a lot of sexist shit that went on in rooms that I was in where there were no women writers.
Right.
And I'd be like, I don't think we should be talking like this, or can we do more defined female characters? They just weren't thinking that way.
Right.
So, luckily I think from that show came Ellen, came Will and Grace. I mean, we all kind of stood on each other's shoulders, and you go back to Soap, which Susan Harris created, Billy Crystal played a gay character. I don't think, Roseanne could have done it had Soap not existed.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. And you scored another WGA nomination for the
Yes,
episode.
we did. And
How
lost
cool.
again.
Who'd you lose to? Do you remember?
I don't care.
Yeah, but that's but definitely a career-defining moment.
I took Margaret Cho as my beard.
How cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell the audience what a beard is.
She's not a beard, but back then that was a term that you would have to bring a female, if you were gay, to a social event. And we were literally told, not by then, but in my early career, you have to bring a woman to every event. And so the first event on my first show, I brought my friend Diane Franklin. She was, you probably don't know the movie, The Last American Virgin. Mm-mm. And she was in like one of the Amityville horror movies, and you can look her up. And she's just a gorgeous, sparkling personality. Every male executive, married or not, just will, and then they'd be like, "So, what's with the two of you?" Like,
right.
Like, first of all, you're married, so just like how rude. Like, that's my friend that I was bringing. And then, by Roseanne, Jim brought his husband. There wasn't a husband at the time, but his lover.
Right.
And that's just what we did.
Yeah.
But it was a big deal. We were probably one of the first sitcom writing teams to come out, and our representative said, don't do it, don't be in the
When
press
did you do
with
it?
I don't remember what year, but it was before Roseanne.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Oh.
In this big newspaper in LA, and just like, we didn't give a shit then. It was just, I was sick of having to go to work and like make up stories about what I did that weekend. I just wanted to be myself.
And even then, you were told to bring a beard to a social event?
Not talk about it, yeah. And then in writing the book, I started thinking, what would have happened? Like, did I think that I'd get fired from a show or not hired because of that?
Yeah.
Like,
maybe,
but what were the ramifications? We were just living in fear, in not just job opportunities, but just in life. Yeah,
that's interesting. But certainly a career-defining, life-defining moment that time, and a very interesting time for the industry as a whole, Okay, let's talk about the Brady Bunch and Very Brady sequels. So explain to me why you are not credited on the Brady Bunch movie.
You just keep bringing up the sad thing.
Well, because
it's life. It is what it is. So the Writers Guild has a rule that the first 4 writers on a rewrite get credit, and we were the 5th writers. And I think that what their initial idea was, it's protecting the original writers. So the rule is, if you change the structure of a piece, then you could get credit.
Right.
But we came on for 2 weeks just to do punch up, would mean just make it funnier. So that's all we were hired to do. Right. At that point, the director, Betty Thomas, was casting, and they had already location scouted all the places, so everything was kind of set how they were going to film it.
Right.
But then Betty read some of our jokes and new scenes, and she said she kept coming in every day and rehiring us 2 weeks after 2 weeks. So we made out handsomely for that job. Right. But she said, here's a scene, Marcia and Greg are in the bedroom, go. So our minds would explode. Well, how far can we take this?
Oh my gosh.
So it was the coolest job, because we could just do any crazy shit that we wanted to do.
Right.
So like in the kitchen scene, we had Shelley Long as Carol Brady pouring sugar. And in my mind, she was always so sugary sweet. So I said, what would happen if through the whole scene, she just keeps pouring and pouring? We don't say anything. So, it's like that much sugar and that much coffee. Right. So we just got to do crazy shit like that.
That's
and they
so fun.
kept loving it. And they're like, more, be crazier.
Right.
And so it was a really, really, really cool job. And we still want to do a Brady's Ladies, to take the 3 actresses that played, Christine Taylor, and put them in West Hollywood today, but they're stuck in the 80s. I think it'd be a great streaming series. Oh. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Somebody out there.
I love it. Brady's
Paramount
Ladies.
Plus, come on.
Brady's Ladies. Yeah, that's such an interesting. Why did the movie need a rewrite?
They didn't. They came up with the premise of the Brady's stuck in the past but living in today. But they didn't seem to mine the insanity of the series. Okay. So we just went to that really twisted place. So Betty Thomas said to us, write it for kids that had never seen the series, write it for people that grew up with it, and write it for stoners. And we go, we got you. Especially on the last one.
Right.
And so we could go really way out. Like we would just, so every day we would watch old episodes and we'd go, you notice there's like no toilet or in the bathroom? It's just a sink. So then we could make jokes like the neighbors could go, where do the Bradys go to the bathroom? So it's just things like that
that were wacky,
that you wouldn't talk about. So for kids, I've had so many people come up to me and go, when I was a kid, those jokes went right over my head, but all the adults were just, laughing their ass off because we got to be very sexual,
Sure.
Like, the Brady's in the bed, put your bookmark in and things like that.
Sure.
Or Gene Smart going, oh, a Brady sandwich. Like, you couldn't say that with two minors today. But
Sure. That's funny. So while working on Roseanne, you had connected with Amy Sherman, who was Amy Sherman at the time, now Amy Sherman Palladino, and also Dan Palladino was a PA on Golden Girls.
So another full circle crazy.
How crazy! Yeah. So you already knew about Gilmore. Gilmore was already in the middle of its run when Amy was kind of shifting up the writing staff.
Well, she kept churning through writers every year, and then she asked us out for martinis, and I never say no to a martini. Anybody out there? And she said, I want you guys to come on staff and kind of steady the ship. I want people that get me as writers. I just need to be grounded, and I need help and people that know me. And we, went to her wedding. We remained friends.
You remained
during
friends,
the years. And I was like, okay. So we went on to development just for a year to do that. And I wanted her to have a good time. I was like, I don't understand. You should be loving this. To get a show on to 5 seasons, be critically acclaimed.
Right.
It wasn't the huge juggernaut it is now, but it was still critically acclaimed.
Right.
Like, you should be having the time of your life. Every writer dreams of this.
Right.
And she just wasn't. So I said, all right, I'm going to go in there and kind of be her court jester and, have a good time with her.
Yeah.
So I hope we did that. And I learned so much about writing and the cast.
Completely different
fantastic.
format.
Yes, but she took a lot, Amy took a lot of sitcom techniques and put it to our shows.
Right.
And I think that's why that has just a different rhythm to it. And you see the scenes have a nice little button or bow to each scene, and that's very different than most hour shows would do.
Yeah, and it's incredibly light and also serialized.
Yes.
So it's like, when we were talking about Spec scripts, I had a friend who was getting his master's in television writing, and he was tasked to write a Spec script of a show that was on television now, which feels really tough, right? So they had suggested that he write an episode of Barry. Okay, so he writes a spec about Barry. Writing a spec for Barry is tough because Barry is so serialized that it's
you don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, where do you even write from? At what point, etc. Gilmore was a show that, although serialized, had exactly what we were talking about, the situational comedy aspect of it, in the sense that the character was so distinct that there could be a B plot, there could be something that was going on that didn't have to do with this arc that was going on, whether it was Team Jess, Team Dean, or,
But if you didn't know Logan was going to be introduced that year, you didn't know. You could think Jess was going to come back and steal her heart. And then we got to develop the whole Logan story and cast Matt Sukri. And so, again, you wouldn't know unless you were in the writer's room with us.
Right. So you were coming into Gilmore Girls, you would watch the whole thing because you were tasked to.
Yes, 4 days before starting work.
Binging before binging.
Binging. I invented binging. So Warner Brothers, we get the job. Warner Brothers sent over these big boxes of video cassettes of 4 seasons. So I literally had to get up, put it in, push a button, take it out. And I just got food and just went.
You mean there wasn't a continue watching?
No, there was none of that. So I did get some steps in, but there weren't even steps back then to watch the clock on my phone. Watch. But as I'm watching episode 2 and 3, I'm going, oh my God, I'm hooked. This is really good storytelling.
Right.
The fact that Amy set up those Friday night dinners in the pilot was a stroke of genius. So that you always knew that she had to go back to her parents' house, ask them for money, whatever, in order for her daughter to succeed.
Right.
It's just so smart.
Yeah.
And the character is just so rich.
Right. So you're stepping in after... I should ask you, because I know what team you are now.
Okay.
You're Team Logan now.
Yes. And always will be.
I'm Team Jess through and through.
Of course you are.
And you're Team Jess, right, Angel? Team
you
Jess.
Can tell. You like the bad boys, don't you?
Yeah, Team Jess.
Yes, you do. I can smell them. Yeah.
But
is that true? Does she go for bad boys?
You know what? Not at all. She's much more of a Logan type. Actually,
so
she's much more of a Logan
come
type.
Come over to
the other side,
the light side
yeah, right.
of Logan.
But and it's funny. It's funny too because I think about Maisel, and Maisel had a similar essence in terms of these guys, and of course, I was right away. I was going for no, I was not going for Benjamin. Boy, you were going for Benjamin. I was going for Lenny. Yeah, Lenny. Right away, I was Team Lenny. You know, through and through, I was Team Lenny, and then you understand. Yeah, okay, she can't be with Lenny, but when she got with Lenny, oh my gosh, you know. So I feel very similarly about Jess. And what team before you're stepping into season 5?
There were no teams back then, so it was just she was moving on. So we needed to introduce a new character, and so we wanted to introduce somebody like Christopher was to Lorelai. That's in our mind, right? And I was like, Christopher's not so bad. Yeah. I know people, object to him wherever he is personally, but anyway. Someone that the grandparents could go, that's the boy. Like, he's perfect. Yeah. But yet, I mean, felt so rich in story. Right. And she hadn't been with somebody like that. No. And so I like that challenged her as a character. And I still feel like they just look good together. The coloring, don't they? Yeah. And that's why when I saw those two boys in the lobby, she was down to 2, a dark-haired boy and Matt Zuckery. I went into the main room and said, Amy, you got to cast the blonde. Like that, I just saw it. When I cast plays, it just when you do chemistry reads, they looked like, and he looked very different than the other two boys. Right,
he did look very different, and he was a lot more put together, and he was more, there was and
he was spoiled and but he was worldly, and that was very different than the other two.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and it certainly challenged Rory and with Lorelai too, because Lorelai wasn't going to be as intrigued by a boy like that, but the grandparents would be, right? Yeah. So so it definitely added a whole lot. How was that season of Gilmore? Was that the season? Am I crazy? That was the season where she winds up sleeping with Dean.
No, it's the season finale of season 4.
Oh, okay. So the season opens with...
Obviously, there's somebody in the room that needs to come with me this weekend to
to
Gilmore Girls Fan Fest Society in Guilford, Connecticut.
Yeah,
I know. Be surrounded by like-minded people like yourself. We will embrace you.
Because I remember that being and that was one of the only seasons of Gilmore Girls I think that has like such a stark cliffhanger where they're in bed together and you're like, Dean! Yeah. And then the season picks up right from it, right? Yeah. So anyway, what was the question I was asking? I don't remember.
We really came into, during the summer, you come up with where you want to go with the whole season, and Amy came up with this idea of couples coming together and falling apart. So all the couples do that. If you notice, the parents split up, everybody. Yeah. So that was really exciting because it was relationship stuff, and that it gave us so much to write for, and it was just exciting. And those actors are all so tremendous.
Yeah, they are.
The casting is brilliant on that show.
Right. Yeah, they are. Was that the season where Lorelai and Luke were together? I can't remember. I watched it so long ago.
Yeah, they broke up and then they come back together.
In that season.
When the portal and they went through it.
No. So what did you do your job?
Boy Meets World.
They end up on Boy Meets World. There we go. Did you do your job?
There's a spec script. Yeah. Gilmore Girl characters go into Boy
Gilmore Girls Meets World.
Oh my God. There you go. Done, sold.
Did you do your job as court jester for Amy? Did that?
I'd like to think I did. I mean, I think it was a really strong season. Yeah. I mean, they were great scripts, great characters. So she was able to go off and be on set and direct, and we could, maneuver things. And she'd come back to the writers' room, and it was an exciting time. And I just learned so much about writing and planting seeds. Not usually our shows, you start the hour and the characters finish and that's done with, and she would plant a seed. You'd see Logan just like a line or two, and then later on suddenly, hey Ace, he's there at the Daily News.
Right. And talk to me a little bit about that, the intention behind on that show. We're talking about a completely different time in television. Why on that show was Amy skeptical about actors talking to writers?
She probably learned it on Roseanne.
Sure.
That's where she grew up. I mean, that was one of her first jobs, and she saw that's the way it is. And she wanted to kind of keep us separate, and it just was kind of how it was working. But
Yeah.
I wasn't taking any of that, and
Sure.
I was obsessed with Lauren Graham. I just thought she was so talented and
Yeah.
beautiful, and I loved writing for her, and she is the coolest person in the world.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know. I had nothing to lose. I was only
Yeah.
there a year. I'm like, I want to talk to her.
Right.
I feel like I love actors, and that, you know.
And Kelly Bishop, my
Oh
gosh.
my God. And she's coming to the fan festival, by the
Oh,
way.
really?
I'm just saying.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she has her book out, and
Yeah.
I mean, she's such a brilliant actor. And
She is.
I mean, they were so lucky to have. I mean, Alexis, Lauren, and her.
Yeah.
I mean, that combination.
Yeah. The whole thing, too, similar. Well, the patter is obviously known. You guys were writing, like you mentioned, 75-page scripts, which
70,
would be
80,
75.
90.
Right.
Yes.
And this would be 75 minutes or 90 minutes, but these are truncated by half.
Yes,
because
because
of
they
the
would talk
fast
so
pace.
fast, and she'd be just on the set faster, faster, faster,
Mm.
and you couldn't mess up every comma, period, dot, dot, dot.
Oh, really?
You'd have to come to set knowing it. And Aaron Sorkin is like that too.
Right.
Letter perfect. There's no improv there.
Right.
You say what, and Amy, took painstaking time to,
craft
with
that.
the craft
You
that
also
you know.
had, I'm assuming, the same act structure with a 75-page strip. You had a 45-minute act structure.
Yeah.
It was really the dialogue that was taking it up.
And
Yeah, so-
commercials.
Yes, but she liked those old 40s movies that talk blah, 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 that kind of fast. So that's where she got it, and it's just, and I start directing theater now like that, and the actor's like, take out the pause, because look how we're talking over each other. That to me is more real
Mm-hmm.
than, a lot of times in hours or soap operas, they'll pause and they'll want to act in between the lines. It's like, no, you're acting and talking and you're nodding, going, yeah,
Right.
like you
Some of
just,
those movies,
like you
40s
just
movies-
did, right?
Yeah.
What are you
And
saying?
you're doing now?
Some of those 40s movies were based on plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot
Like
of
Front
them.
Page.
Yeah.
And how do
Yeah.
you know Front Page? Very
Barry.
impressed.
Funny enough, Barry was the first time.
Oh, from Barry?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So there's a lot of those Rosalind Russell movies that actually Amy, wanted
Yeah.
to emulate that speed.
And
to it.
successfully so.
I think she did pretty good
Yeah.
with that one. Yeah.
That show and Maisel
Oh my
both
God.
have like and Bunheads. Like they all
I
have
worked
like,
on the pilot of Bunhead.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, very
It was
cool.
fun to be there for all. We were looking for that mother character. We filmed the pilot with somebody else, and then there was like, no, it's got to be Kelly Bishop. So they had to go back and refilm the whole, all her scenes.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's funny. Yeah. Okay, let's talk. I'm gonna do a jump to the book that
Okay.
we've mentioned so often. What inspired you to write the book?
Everybody kept asking, how is you as a man? Why do you keep gravitating towards writing female ensemble shows?
Right.
So I wanted to answer that burning question.
Yeah.
Which 3 people probably wanted to know, but I just had it in me, and then when I came up with the title, I was like, I love it and a good alliteration, so a lot of G's in there, and
Yeah,
the symmetry, worked out perfectly. Thank you, world.
for sure.
Yes.
From Golden to Gilmore.
Yeah, there you go.
And so how have you found? Well, I guess because these shows have like we're talking about the Gilmore Fan Fest.
Well,
that's
this
going
year
on,
was the
like-
40th anniversary of the premiere of Golden Girls and the 25th anniversary of
Of Gilmore
Gilmore. So
Girls.
what is the odds of that
Synergy,
happening?
yeah.
The synergy of that is so
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
And so that's why I kind of...
Have you heard about or watched or? Because I don't think it's come out yet, right? The Gilmore documentary that's
I'm
happening.
in it.
You are in it.
I was filmed. So last year at the fan festival, they asked to be in this documentary, and it got so much press.
Yeah.
And I think I'm the only person that I guess was considered a producer. So I started getting all these emails. You're producing the movie. Can I put my music? And I'm like, I'm not producing the documentary. I was a producer on the show.
Yeah.
They got some great people. Kelly
Jared Kelly's in
Jared,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Chad
mean-
Michael Murray's doing a spot in it.
and Sally Struthers and Liz Torres, my good
How
friend.
come Amy isn't involved in it?
Ask her.
Yeah.
She's had a real, she does, when she wants to do it, she'll be in there. And
Yeah.
I can't answer.
Because I
that
know
question.
Lauren had mentioned that she didn't do it because Amy didn't do
right.
it.
So I
Yeah.
think she's taking the lead from Amy, and
Yeah.
for whatever reason,
Amy decided not to be a part of it.
Yeah. And who
Um,
knows? It's not finished yet, so maybe Amy will be in it.
Yeah,
It'd be great to get her perspective on it.
for sure. What did you make of the reboot?
I loved a lot of it, except seeing a swimming pool in Stars Hollow. I was like, "What the hell is this?" It just was like, I had no idea there was one there. Had I known, it would have been fun to use it. So that was a little odd to me.
Sure.
But I did go to the set when they were doing Winter, and took some secret pictures. And then when they did the whole dancing sequence that Amy's mother was in, I was there that day. So I went a couple days. I was just so excited to see friends that I had worked with, and I think the show has to come back in some form.
Yeah.
I love the idea that Lauren has about doing one movie. I think it should maybe be a Thanksgiving movie, so it's very family oriented would be nice.
Right.
That feels very fall and would be very fitting for it. So
Yeah.
I think
And that cliffhanger, I know that was the intention.
We know who the father is. I knew the 4 words years ago. Amy told me in some, I don't know, drunken stupor or something. I knew about it, but I kept my mouth shut. And so that when I was like, yeah, there it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who's the father?
Is it Dean?
No.
Girl, why would you think it was Dean? Get out! Walk out! Walk out of here!
What made you think it was Dean?
She's a conspiracy theorist.
I never hear that. I don't know. They can come up with anything, but I just read that somewhere where Amy says she's hinted that obviously she knows, and it could be anything she wants it to be. It could change.
I see.
Yeah.
I think that the only real viable options were Logan or Paul.
I feel it's got to be Logan, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's
I don't
Logan.
know.
I always forget.
I'm hoping it's Logan.
Yeah.
After this point of this podcast.
Yeah.
After all this.
Yeah. You think it's Logan because you want it to be
I do
Logan,
want it to be
Stan.
Logan. And he did show up at Lauren's star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So they owe it to him.
Yeah.
He's the smart boy. I knew a smart boy when I saw him. Yeah.
It's funny. Because we're on the topic of reboots and I didn't mention it, we should definitely talk a little bit about this Roseanne reboot and what went down.
The Connors.
Well, yeah, and you had mentioned in the book that you had felt that even though Roseanne, it was 9 episodes, the reboot. It was a successful 9 episodes. It was a huge hit, and for the record,
But for
very
years,
funny.
Jim and I kept saying, I would love to hear what Roseanne would say about this, or something that was very topical.
Topical, yeah.
So when they came up with bringing it back, I'm going, yes, I want to know how those characters would react to it.
Right.
And then the whole thing exploded one morning
Yeah.
as I turned on my computer and I saw Wanda Sykes is quitting the show, and then suddenly, 5 minutes later, Roseanne is fired. And then 10 minutes later, I get a call from a friend at CNN. Hey, can we pick you up to come over to CNN and talk about it? I'm like, give me 2 minutes to think about it. And I kind of collected my thoughts about what I would say, and showered, went over, and went live on CNN. Yeah.
And I mean, but you don't really, from what it seems like, there's a lot of other reasons why Roseanne was let go. The show is such a hit.
Yeah,
and
but she had years of
that's what I mean.
behavior
Precedent.
that I think that they probably were like, enough is enough.
This is the last straw.
But my point of view, and I think I talked about this on the different interviews I did, was that I wish she had used it as a teachable moment.
Right.
And I think whether she knew that Valerie was black or not, like, let's talk about racism. And I think we keep always wanting to skirt that subject and slipping it under the rug. Oh, there's no racism in America. Like, let's bring it out in the
Let's
open.
make it an episode.
Yeah, there you go. But, like, I think we have to have these messy discussions sometimes.
Sure.
But it just wasn't. It was like, blaming Ambien or whatever.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Then here we go.
Yeah.
More years of not really doing it.
And there was, for the record, I believe, if I'm right, a slew of tweets that preceded then that people were like, "Oh, this is getting iffy," and then it's kind of just like broke, last straw. That happened, and the Connors ran for 6 years.
She had gotten paid, right?
I believe so.
It wasn't just like a firing.
No, I believe that the Connors. I believe that
She
she.
sold it, right?
I believe it was a selling that she had sold the show, right? Because those were her characters.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
She definitely got off on it in that regard.
Like-
Yeah. And the Connors was a hit, and there's like probably, I guess, something like 250 episodes of the Connors.
but it's just so sad that, like, she worked with these people. They were family, and that it ends up like that. But families end up like that sometimes. It's so like a real family.
Right.
That
It's not the way you want it to go.
No, but I mean, we live in a fractured world now, and sometimes you
yeah, it
have to
happens.
separate.
Yeah. We are big fans. We were big fans of the book. I was kind of hooked reading it, and I mean that. And then the exciting part for me is that I would watch it and then I would read it and then go, gosh, I want to go back and watch. Let me go back. And so I would be watching and reading simultaneously.
wow.
And it was like, so it was just such a joy. It really was. And I'm like highly encouraging of reading it. I love Golden Girls. I love Gilmore
It's a
Girls.
little chapter, so you can read it on a plane.
I was reading it on a plane,
Oh, there
actually.
you go.
Yeah.
I wanted to feel like you're just sitting here like this, just talking to me.
Exactly. And it certainly does feel that way. And I think your journal entries add a lot too. You know, it makes it a lot more personal and funny because a lot of them are retrospective in like this way that you're like, you're speaking now, but if you don't think I believe this then, here it is.
Right.
You know. We have a game that we want to play with you.
Oh no.
And it is, because the book is called From Golden to Gilmore, we're going to make you guess whether or not these lines are Golden or Gilmore Girls.
Oh my god, okay. I'm horrible with trivia, but let's
So
go for it.
we'll see what you can do.
Are they my episodes?
I don't know if they're your episodes, but most of them are your seasons.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Here's the quote. I'm not saying I'm Wonder Woman, but I'm not saying I'm not Wonder Woman either.
Gilmore.
That's right. Gilmore. Yeah. All right. Off to a good start. I'm not good at lying on cue. It's like trying to sneeze on cue.
Gilmore.
Golden. That's Golden Girls,
Okay,
season
wow.
1, episode 24.
Okay.
Okay, and the lines are just general enough. You know, I'm not
Yes,
going to
I
give you the
noticed.
dog ears. I'm not going to give you the dog ears line. You know,
And what, Blanche? Dog ears?
yeah, which is a fantastic
And
joke
that's
that
my
you wrote.
line,
That's
yeah,
your
so
line.
I better
That is
know
a
that one.
hysterical joke.
I have a T-shirt. I should have wore it today.
Yeah. Okay. Your idea of exercise is switching from one side of the bed to the other.
Golden.
That's right. Golden. You know, sometimes I wish I could freeze time so I could just sit and stare at you.
Gilmore?
Yeah, Gilmore. That's Lorelai to Rory.
Okay.
Back in Sicily, we didn't have therapists. We just yelled at each other and ate.
Golden. You had me at Sicily.
Yeah. I don't have a life plan. I have a day plan, and sometimes that falls apart by noon.
That could be either. I'm going to say Gilmore.
Gilmore, that's right. There it is.
Okay,
Golden.
yes,
Yeah,
okay.
you did pretty well there. That was pretty strong.
okay.
So we do this. We have a tradition on our podcast. We always manifest a dream guest.
Okay.
So we want you to manifest anyone living for us to be sitting in this chair. Honestly, you feel like a dream guest in and of itself. We feel
I
so
know,
lucky
you
to
can stop
have
doing
you.
the show after me.
Yeah, that's it. We're done. So yeah, you could give us anyone. Manifest any dream guest for us.
Well, I'm going to say my good buddy Michael Urie.
Oh yeah, Michael Urie.
That would be a good one.
He's doing
right?
Richard II right
Yes,
now.
he is.
Yeah.
I just saw him in O'Mary.
Yeah.
And we've worked together a long time. So he was involved in It's On. That's how I met him. He
Oh,
was the offstage voice.
very cool.
And we became good friends, and I've helped him. You know, he does a lot of hosting.
Yeah.
And so I help him sometimes rewrite the patter that he does. And,
Oh, very cool.
He's become a
And
very
Amy
close
Sherman
friend.
Palladino rewrote the book to Once Upon a Mattress.
Yeah, so there's that little synergy.
Little connection
going,
there too. Yeah, Michael Urie. I love it. We'll take
Yes,
it.
okay.
So we end the podcast with the same question every time, and we started by asking you who was your I want to be like you when you were a kid, and we want to end by asking you who is your I want to be like you now. And it could be anyone. It could be someone in your life. It could be a celebrity. It doesn't whoever you'd like.
Who I want to be like?
Yeah.
I'm going to say my mom.
Your mom.
Who was very supportive of me and my biggest cheerleader, and
Yeah.
I think of her every day, and wish she was still here.
Yeah. That's special. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for
Thank you for
doing
having
this.
me.
This was such a pleasure. And go out and read this book because I've had a blast reading it. The Girls from Golden to Gilmore. Stories about all the wonderful women I've worked with and Roseanne. Thank you, Stan. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I Want to Be Like You with Elbi Cespedes is produced by Elbi and Christian Cespedes. Special thanks to Angelina Cespedes, Vincenzo Salvatore Cakes, Rachel Fisher of Smith Publicity Inc., and of course, Stan Zimmerman.